their conversation deserves but a bread knife, and punks who would laugh when they saw us together. Well, they didn't know how to dress for the weather. August deceiving, they're huddled on Aster. Snow falling slow to the sound of the master. The gloves are off, the wisdom teeth are out. What you on about? I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my bones. I'm stronger now, I'm ready for the house. Such a modest monk, I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. Wisdom's a gift, but you trade it for youth. Age is an honor, it's still not the truth. We saw the stars when they hid from the world. You cursed the sun when it stepped to your good. Maybe she's gone and I can't resurrect her. The truth is she doesn't need me to protect her. We know the true death, the true wave of flesh. Everyone's dying, but girl, you're not old yet. Gloves are off, the wisdom teeth are out. What you on about? I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my bones. I'm stronger now, I'm ready for the house. Such a modest man, I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. Gloves are off, the wisdom teeth are out. What you on about? I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my bones. I'm stronger now, I'm ready for the house. Such a modest man, I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone.
Every time I see you in the world, you always step to my door.
Fog lifts from the harbor, dawn goes down today. An agent crests the shadows of a nearby alleyway. Piles of broken bricks, signposts on the path. Every moment points toward the aftermath. Yeah. Sailors straggle back from their nights out on the town. Hopeless urchins from the city gather.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, March 31st, 2017. My name is Sam Seder. This is the four-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. Oh, it's Casual Friday, folks. Another 15-day-long week has come to an end. We wrap it up on Friday. Seems like the weekends are about 15 minutes long, and the weeks are an eternity. Welcome to America in the age of Trump. Fortunately, with us on this Casual Friday, Cliff Schecter from Cliff Schecter's place. Also on the program, joining us today. Here it is. Maggi Mayfield, and my old friend David Waterman from the YTunes Shuffle podcast will be joining us. Also on the program, Flynn wants immunity, but he doesn't really have anything to give. You'll have to wait and hear what I say. And Nunes, turns out his sources were actually White House staffers. Meanwhile, under Betsy DeVos, the Education Department planning to screw former students now doing public service. Republicans vote to allow states to defund Planned Parenthood. And Prince is gone, but we still have Rex Tillerson. On Gorsuch, Dems are down 3, but filibuster still intact and holding. And surprise, Trump not going to renegotiate NAFTA after all. Shocking indeed, ladies and gentlemen. All that and more on today's Majority Report. Folks, this is pretty exciting. I don't know if you can remember back all the way to last spring. Oh, first off, I should say, with no purpose other than acknowledging it, today is March 31st, 2017. This is, I got to send a text to Janine. This is the 13-year anniversary of the Majority Report. This program launched on this day in 2004 at 7 p.m. I think it was 7 p.m. at that time. We had a 7 to 10 p.m. Time slot. And we launched with what we called at that time College Radio meets College Radio. And that was our first Majority Report.
Matt was in the kindergarten.
I was a sophomore in high school.
Well, that's not that young.
No.
You're not in junior high, at least. So with that out of the way, let's celebrate spring. And this is how we're going to do it, folks. Starting tonight at 12 a.m., Just Coffee's got a huge sale. People went bonkers over this last year. And that's why I have been specifically not talking about Just Coffee for the past 3 or 4 days. If you use the coupon code, instead of Majority, you use MR Spring. Capital M, capital R, capital S, Spring. Maybe you don't need, I don't know, maybe it's not capital sensitive. Spring 17, you will get 30% off your coffee order. This is with free shipping at justcoffee.com. So you've heard me talk about Just Coffee. Maybe you've heard Mark Maron talk about it and do his dumb little pow thing,
Boo.
which he hasn't given up on in 10 years. And I crap my pants. That's what he would say. That's what he said. But you have an opportunity to get 30% off. MR Spring 17. Go try a bunch of the different coffees. Try the Majority Report blend. Buy it for your friends. MR Spring. Get 30% off at justcoffee.coop. We will put that on the blog and also in the show description today. All right, I want to just do this clip because it's pretty funny, and then we will get to it with Cliff. So, as you know, Bill O'Reilly brings on their Fox News strategic analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. It has come out that Devin Nunes, his supposed contact that he met on the White House grounds, because there was a skiff there or whatever it is, a secure location to look at intel. It sounded like he was meeting someone from the intelligence agencies. Well, it turns out he was actually meeting with the White House appointed liaison to the intelligence agencies. And Bill O'Reilly is having on Ralph Peters, who I think is, I don't know that he has really any credibility, frankly, but I like the fact that Bill O'Reilly has lost control of his own narrative in these two segments. So here's Bill O'Reilly look at the windup. And then the ball bounces about 6 feet before the plate. Here we go.
There was a hearing in the Senate and new information about who showed Congressman Devin Nunes classified information on the White House grounds. Joining us from Washington, Fox News
Pause it
strategic
for 1
analyst.
second. Does he just say this with names that are not fully Americanized?
What do you think? Use your
Devin
brain over there,
Nunes.
Sam
Okay.
Seder.
Colonel Peters. No, that's too American. I don't need to do that. Good.
Nunes classified information on the White House grounds. Joining us from Washington, Fox News strategic analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. First of all, John Roberts just sent up this to me, and this is so crazy what's going on now. And I say that because it's being used as propaganda rather than fact. Apparently, the National Security Council, and they have an office on the White House, came across a number of instances where members of the Trump campaign, including the president himself, showed up on intelligence wiretaps. That's transcripts of secretly recorded conversations. Two White House guys called Nunes, the head of the House Intelligence Committee, to the White House to look at the stuff, to look at what was thing. Nunes then said, I saw shocking stuff. It didn't have anything to do with Russia. It was shocking, and talked to President Trump about it. Okay, so that's what happened. Is there a scandal here? Is there anything here that you're seeing as our security expert that I'm not seeing?
Well, there is a sort of scandal in the fact that this wasn't the National Security Council servicing these documents. It was a couple of Trump appointees assigned to the National Security Council. This wasn't H.R. McMaster. And it was clearly another attempt to divert attention from the main issue, which is a question of whether or not Vladimir Putin's regime was able to penetrate the Trump campaign and potentially the administration.
Well, we'll get to
It's not going the way I want it.
Hold on for a second. Did anybody vet you before we came on? And so, now Bill O'Reilly is going to take a slightly different angle, and that is, I'm going to say, now this whole thing, though, that's, the real scandal is with Nunes.
I'm drunk.
Is this thing.
I'm drunk.
He's going to try it from the other side now. Here we go.
Though, if Donald Trump and some high member of his transition team are caught on wiretaps, and as you know, it's supposed to be blanked out, they're not, and now they're on transcripts in our intel agencies. I think that's an important story, is it not?
No, I think it's a BS story, and it's phony, and nobody's released those.
Whoops.
What happened to you, Ralphie boy?
Folks, if you're looking for a producer of a television program, you're looking to hire one, I think one might be available in town.
What happened to Peters? We used to talk about why Barack Obama was too soft to kill kids.
Devin Nunes.
I had you all teed up.
Guys, just going to say a bunch of ethnic, he's like
Ethnic
Colonel
names.
Ralph. He isn't Colonel Ralph Peters. No, it's Colonel Ralph Peters. Normal name, not Nunes.
Talking with you is like talking to my wife. I hate you.
So there you have. I frankly.
The tenor Andrea Bocelli.
Oh gosh. Well, there you have it, folks. Just another. We got to get the D-man on here if we're going to get control of our show. I think that's what he said. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Just a reminder: this program relies on your membership. If you have the financial means to support this program, please do. You can become a member at jointhemajority.report.com. And of course, if you want the bonus material that we give every day, actually longer. It's like one of those things, like maybe I'm dreaming. Maybe none of you exist. Maybe you're all just in my dream. Well, maybe actually the bonus material is the first half of the show. And maybe the second half of the show is the real show. What do you think about that? I don't want to blow anybody's mind. But if you want the second half of the show, Kelly's steaming about that. She doesn't like that.
They're a little off the rails. It's fine. It's good.
Some
Friday.
people won't listen to the second half of the show if their wives are not in the room.
That's right. Some people, it may be a little bit dangerous to listen to the show.
I just don't want to hear that right-wing Mandela impression. If my wife's not around, just doesn't feel right.
If you don't have the financial means to become a member, send us an email at majorityreporters@gmail.com, and we will wheel and deal with you. All right, quick break. When we come back, Cliff Schecter.
Pack up, I'm straight. Oh no. Oh, say, say, say. 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 Wait, they don't love you like I love you. Wait, they don't love you like I love you. That's wait, they don't love you like I love you. Made of, don't stray. Well, my kind's your kind. I'll stay the same. Pack up, but don't stray. Oh, say, say, say. Oh, say, say, say. Wait, they don't love you like I love you. Wait, they don't love you like I love you. Perhaps wait, they don't love me like I love you. Wait, they don't love me like I love you. Perhaps wait, they don't love me like I love you.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Casual Friday on the Majority Report. And people say, why is this day different than all other days? On all other days, we just have the musical interlude before the guest comes. But on this day, we play this.
Cliff Schecter, Libertas LLC. New media, public relations, and strategy. You want any of these services, you know who you gotta see. Cliff Schecter, Libertas LLC.
Did you hear that, Cliff? Did you hear that? That I'm already getting into the Passover mode.
I did. I thought you maybe heard me laughing a little bit. I enjoyed how you made this day different than all others.
No, I didn't. And I just realized, though, that I've just blown it for next Friday, which would have been the day to lead into the Passover stuff. But
we all have short memories. By then, at least like 14 more scandals will have happened, and people won't have enough sort of space in their brains to remember this, and you can just do the whole thing again.
I was going to say, next Friday is going to feel like this Friday was like a year earlier, so we should be fine.
That's exactly right.
Now, this week we didn't have any major legislative failure by the Trump administration. And
also known as a good week.
Exactly. I mean, I have to say, and I want to get into this Flynn stuff. I want to get into this Nunes stuff. I mean, it would be obviously, you know, there's no way to avoid something like this. And you know, the good news is that we're starting to hear some single payer talk. Bernie Sanders introducing a bill. I'm starting to hear people talk about it. You know, Gavin Newsom maybe introduced something like this in California. People are starting to talk
New
about
York,
it.
I've been hearing about it, right?
In New York, and we'll talk about that next week.
If Andrew Cuomo can't find a way to pretend he's liberal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I mean, this is, obviously the Gorsuch stuff we'll touch on, but.
And also we have to talk about, we definitely have to leave some time to talk about all the great work that Susan B. Anthony is doing.
She's well. You know what? We have that. We'll play that that clip. We have a fascinating clip to play of Donald Trump. But all right, let's start with Lynn, because the upside of this stuff is it is clear. One thing is really clear, that aside from like a random tweet from Trump about the Freedom Caucus, like a Trump flailing around trying to figure out what his angle is going to be. This, whatever it is, I mean, known as the Russia stuff, is completely, it seems to me, dominating what's going on in the White House at this point, and probably with good reason. And which is good because it means that they can do less damage. It seems to me.
That's right.
But
yeah, I mean, it's engulfing them. I mean, they've certainly tried. I think that sending Sean Spicer out to lie about things only ends up creating more controversies. I mean, as often is the case, and certainly Donald Trump has proven his entire life that his mouth or his tweet are his worst enemies. They make all this stuff that much worse, because sometimes some of these things really aren't that big of a deal, and they make them into a bigger deal by being idiots and attacking and going after, I don't know, African American reporters, for example. And so but some are a big deal. I mean, we just found out obviously that Nunez, as everybody was predicting and knew, got the information he got from the White House. He's basically running a defense operation when his job is actually to be the prosecutor. I mean, there's no clearer case, for the people that wasted God knows how much time on Benghazi, that one of their own should be thrown off of a committee, if not be brought up on charges potentially. I mean, he's all angry about information being leaked, and he's potentially illegally leaking information.
All right. Well, let's look at the perspective of Ted Yoho. This is he's a congressman from Florida's 3rd District. He was on with NBC's Craig Melvin, maybe MSNBC. I don't know who. I think I don't know what network he's on now. It's either MS. Yeah, I guess it's MSNBC. So here's Ted Yoho. This is really sort of stunning in a way. I mean, I don't know if he's just misspeaking, but I think this gives you a sense of what the Republican perspective is in terms of their role in this whole investigation. Here's Ted Yoho.
Are you concerned at all that he was viewing what he said was classified information at the White House, then reported it back to the White House?
Well, you got to keep in mind who he works for. He works for the president. He answers to the president.
Does he, or does he work for the constituents of his district?
Well, you do both, but when you're in that capacity, if you've got information, I'm okay with what he did.
Now, wait a second. Now, Cliff.
That is one of the dumbest. I mean, do these guys take bait? I mean, this is. I didn't even. I'm sorry. I'm reacting with shock because that's one that I hadn't caught yet. Maybe it's my fault because I was on vacation until 2 days ago.
Well, you know a lot about civics. Do congressmen? Do they work for the president of the United States? Are they supposed to report to the United States? Do they work for the United States? And even or are they supposed to do both? Work for the president of the United States and their constituents? I mean,
no. I learned this strange thing from Saturday morning cartoons. They'd have like "I'm Just a Bill" up on Capitol Hill and stuff. And I through all that, which by the way, we may want to take Ted Yoho to a dark room and a Clockwork Orange style pin his eyelids open and make him watch all of those things. So maybe he'll learn something about the body he's serving in. I mean, this really does bother me that the people who serve it, I mean, they can be conservative, but they're so ignorantly conservative. They're so stupid about what it is they actually do. Can you trust somebody's judgment on anything when he doesn't get that? No, a congressman is part of the Congress. It is a body. It is one of the 3 distinct bodies of our government, of our federal government. And it is, in fact, is supposed to play a role. It's called a balance of powers. And they're supposed to the particular role that Devin Nunes is supposed to play on the committee he's on is that of an oversight. I know it's a big word for Ted Yoho or whatever his name is. An oversight role. That's the role he's supposed to be playing here. He's not supposed to be being teammates with Donald Trump. He doesn't work for Donald Trump. He works for us.
Of course. I mean, that is I don't even know that it's stupidity as much as it just shows like they have a real problem that they can't even pretend not to do that, right? I mean, that's.
Right. I don't think they understand the way our government works, honestly. I mean, I'm serious. There are some some of these guys who are conservative and they were interested in government and they ran and they get how things work, and they're still terrible people. I'd call Paul Ryan among those. But then there's this Tea Party wave, which Yoho comes from. And that, to me, seems to have introduced some of the dumbest people I've ever seen on television, and that's a big statement, into Congress, who just were people who were sitting at home like other, people like themselves, undereducated and angry, and reacting to stuff they saw on TV or heard on Rush Limbaugh, and decide to run for office with no clue of the actual sort of importance of the role that various branches of our government play, and balancing each other out and overseeing each other, and all, what democracy actually is. This guy clearly, he has no idea. I don't think it's ever even crossed his mind before.
I think
and he probably thinks what he said is right.
Full-on authoritarian. I think he perceives himself as like, oh, I'm a duke and he's the king. And that's what you do. There's
no getting into political science theory with him. He's a moron. And I'm not just saying this. He's one of the guys, I have to go back and try to remember, but he's one of the ones who I believe, after Newtown talked about we should be introducing guns into schools that would make them safer. I mean, he's one of those, right, who simple slogans, plop 4 words on a bumper sticker about something, and that's about as far as he can delve into anything. So, I mean, this is and there's 50 just like him, if not a lot more.
Now, listen,
in the house.
I want to just, this is, I've mentioned my theory about what Nunes was doing before, but I want to play this clip from Jack Kingston, it was on CNN, because, so now we know Nunes just went, and I've heard that they're refuting it was actually 2 of the officials, it was just maybe 1 of the officials, but it was a liaison basically to the National Security Council who Nunes met with, to go over this information, which turns out to be information where Trump's people in the White House were recorded on transcripts, were seen on transcripts with foreign officials who were being wiretapped. And it was all about how they were going to curry favor with the Trump family and his business interests. So it didn't have anything to do with Russia, which in some respects I think is probably a very similar dynamic to what the whole Russia story is about. Just full-on graft and corruption in some fashion. But let's talk about the timing for a moment, okay?
Well, can you tell me quickly, what is your theory of what Nunes was doing?
I'm gonna tell you. Let's first listen to Jack Kingston on one of these major CNN panels with like 8 people, like a Brady Bunch thing. I think it's clear they had this information for a while and they were using it as an excuse. Here, let's listen.
When he was asked about his tweets, and he said, well, it wasn't really wiretapping, maybe it was surveillance, said, you're going to find out more in a couple of weeks.
Well, in fact, he said we've submitted some stuff.
Can I finish? My question to you, Jack,
I know where you're going, I think, but go ahead.
Okay, well, let me ask you. The question is, what was the president talking about, and what did he know, and did he actually know what Devin Nunes finally learned?
Well, let me say this. I have had the honor of meeting and talking to Donald Trump. He is a kind of optimistic guy who's always going to say, you're going to be very proud of the wall. We're going to build the wall. Mexico's going to pay for it. We're going to have more jobs. We're going to have jobs right and left. He is the kind of guy who will always kind of bet on the come. And say something like that, I don't think there's anything nefarious. I don't think, hey, Devin Nunes, we've got this orchestrated. I really and truly do not believe that they are organized enough to orchestrate something like this.
So he was
just making stuff up? So you're saying he was just making stuff up? He says that, yeah. I don't think I think it was a throwaway line. I think it was, you're going to be surprised at the information that comes out. I think he can say the same thing
and then when Sean Spicer said, wait till the end of the week to see what comes out, was he also just being optimistic?
That's I can't say anything about where Sean was coming from on that. I just know on the president, the way he talks, I would say that's the way. It was a throwaway line.
Okay, so Cliff, here's the point. aside from the fact that Jack Kingston feels like Donald Trump's just the type of guy like, hey, I don't know, give my kids money, companies money, and then we'll see. Maybe you guys
he's
will
an
get that trade
optimistic
deal
guy,
you
isn't
wanted. Well, who knows?
Isn't the guy saying the world is going to blow up and crime is everywhere? I mean, yes.
I'm just
he's
betting on the
in the way
come.
Escape from New York.
Betting on the come. But here's the thing. It is quite clear that Donald Trump and Sean Spicer knew about this information for at least a couple of weeks before Nunes got this call that had him rush to the White House to get it. It seems to me that it is quite a coincidence that Nunes got this call on the day after he had been briefed by James Comey, because they wanted to get him to the White House after this briefing. And, on one hand, it could have been like, this is going to be a distraction. We're going to hold this material as a sort of a press distraction. But it also has, very conveniently, the gives Devin Nunes complete cover for going to the White House and telling the White House everything that Comey told him. And so this whole story about that he got this information, look, the White House clearly had this information. They could have leaked it in a different way. Why implicate Nunes? If you want to get it out there and create a story, why implicate Nunes in this? I think they wanted Nunes at the White House because they wanted to have him in that skiff or whatever it was to tell the president and to tell the people there, this is what James Comey has. And that still seems to me to be the most obvious explanation of why he was there. Not to get information, to give information.
That's right. Well, and he becomes the voice behind the information, and he's on the committee, and hopefully that gives it credibility, right? And that so it's not just coming from them.
Well, yes, but I'm saying I think that was secondary motive. I'm saying they wanted to know what James Comey has, because this is the first time that Nunes finds out. And they don't know what James Comey has. And so they want to know, because whatever it is, they want to be able to get their story straight if they ever get questioned. A, and B, they want to stop contact with, I don't know, whoever it is, whatever guys they're still talking to.
In case what everybody's saying about Flynn, if he's turning state's evidence against them, then they need to start preparing.
Let's talk about Flynn, because I'm a little bit skeptical about this. Story breaks in Wall Street Journal last night that Michael Flynn has requested or said, if you give me immunity, and he's saying this to the Senate Intelligence Committee, which has already rejected the offer, the House Intelligence Committee, and the FBI, give me immunity, and his lawyer claims that he has a story to tell. Let's just first let Michael Flynn argue what it means when you get immunity. Yes, this is from Meet the Press, NBC News.
It's beautiful is what it is.
The very last thing that John Podesta just said is no individual too big to jail. That should include people like Hillary Clinton. I mean, 5 people around her have been given immunity, to include her former chief of staff. When you are given immunity, that means that you've probably committed a crime.
Now, that's Mike Flynn. Yeah. Well, I mean, but here's the difference.
It sucks for these guys that videotaping technology exists.
Those people were given immunity, okay? He's asking for it.
Begging for it.
And I would imagine it's because he knows he's screwed, right? Like, you can't go and tell the Turks, I will arrange a kidnapping of a guy in exile for you, of someone who's in this country legally, and deliver them to you. That's illegal.
We consider that that's frowned upon.
Yes.
In this country.
Not registering as a foreign lobbyist when you are is illegal. And so he knows he's screwed. I don't think he has much, because if he did, we wouldn't know about it right now.
The guy who has it all is Manafort.
I think you're probably right.
That's the one who you need to put the pressure on and essentially make clear. I think, they should pull one of those deals where they're like, we could try you here, but we're going to send you back to the Ukraine to let them try you. Maybe they ought to work on that. Because they want him. They want to try him for all the stolen government assets and everything there. I mean, he's the one piece that keeps coming up that has been connected into that Putin universe for a good decade plus now.
Yeah.
And so I almost feel like, and even when he left the campaign, he was still in close contact with them. He was still helping them during the transition. I almost feel like he's the nexus of all of this. And I have to believe, Carter Page was connected to him. I have to believe he was the guy who was doing a lot of the meeting and passing on information. And he's also, of course, connected to the money laundering banks in places like Cyprus. He touches on everything.
Yeah.
But it's not to say there aren't other guys here who probably know a good deal or know enough to what they could say could easily turn into a beyond impeachable offense for Trump. So I mean, as we sort of started off this segment with, I'm not sure either what Flynn knows. As you said, we know he's broken a couple of law. I mean, what the kidnapping thing you brought up, not registering as a foreign agent. We don't ever really enforce the Logan Act here, but certainly there's questions when he's having conversations about policy with Russian ambassadors and saying, potentially quid pro quo, you change this, don't worry, we're going to take care of things, and we're going to get rid of the sanctions. There's a lot of stuff for him to be scared of. I would add to that he may want to have a taster, sort of taste his tea for polonium.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think he has that much.
He may not have enough, but he's worth it.
And now, what wouldn't surprise me is
if I were Paul Manafort, however, I'm not sure I'd eat or drink anything anymore.
Yes, that I think. I mean, I think this is a guy who. I think all of this is really ultimately about crime and money laundering, and a lot less than. At least from the perspective of the U.S. players, a lot less about. Espionage and a lot more about just making cash. But
I think that's some of it. I really do think when I start looking at, and some people I trust on foreign policy issues and reading about it and looking, I really do believe that there was a foreign policy trade for that money and for that, and for there was getting rid of the sanctions, and that would benefit oil companies and gas enterprises in both Russia particularly, but also in the United States. I do believe the going and changing of that the policy that the Republicans had towards the Ukraine and their platform. I do the stuff that they started to come out and say, Flynn, Trump, whatever, about working closer with Russia, about ending sanctions, about NATO being obsolete, about the EU being obsolete. I really do believe that these are all. I think Putin was buying himself a foreign policy. I really do. I mean, I could be proven wrong about that, but there seem to be a lot.
I just think that these guys are just like, yeah, of course we're going to be nice to the Russian mobsters that we have.
But I've been working with for years.
I've been working with for years, who've been overpaying for my real estate and who've been loaning me money. And,
right, Trump had been working with them for years, separate, from Manafort. I agree with you. I think Trump is sociopathic enough, or maybe that's not the right word here. I'm not trying to think of what the right word is. He's just, that there aren't rules in his world. You do things to benefit yourself, and they're worth it, and that's the way you conduct.
Yeah, I don't think he.
I don't think he cared either way. It wasn't like it was like I think they came to him probably with this proposition. He's like, oh, so we can get rich, and I can probably write off some debt or get rid of some debt, and I can this, that, and the other thing, and all we have to do is change our policy and say we're not going to really support the Ukraine, who I don't give a shit about anyhow, and NATO, which I don't care about anyhow, because what does NATO do? Right. I don't
even think
it's
like
giving
that.
Up anything big.
I think it's even once removed from that. I don't think that Donald Trump or any of them knew that they were dealing with anybody from the Russian government. I think they were just dealing with basically, as far as they were concerned, it was Joey No Socks. It was just a bunch of guys like that. And, they don't think that Joey No Socks is, trying to push Italian policy. And it just so happens like, hey, I got a buddy. Dimitri,
now, Trump may be that ignorant,
tell Donald
though.
what he should do with the
Carter
Ukraine.
Page and some of the other ones are not that ignorant.
And Dimitri's there taking a shot of vodka. He goes, what you should do? You should just fuck the EU. You don't need them. Why do you need them? And he goes, you know what? You're right. Like, I don't think he has any more depth when it comes to these decisions than he did about healthcare. I think he just one guy says
I couldn't
it to
agree
him.
more. That's kind of the point. I guess maybe I'm not being clear. That's the point I'm trying to make, which is, to him, I don't think it wasn't a big deal. Just the way healthcare isn't a big deal. Just the way nothing is that doesn't affect him financially or how he views himself publicly, and others view him in his mind publicly. I'm just saying I don't think it was a big deal. I don't think he really knew the significance of it, because nothing's significant in that mind outside of the narcissistic self. It doesn't change the fact that he still knew he was doing something, and that still happens to be illegal. I mean, if you don't really feel that bad about shooting somebody, it's still an illegal act. You know, the point is that
what should I do?
What he did,
well,
the other guys probably set it up.
Angela Merkel is a 2. Well, screw her.
Total 2.
Total 2. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's. I think a lot
that's right.
I think a lot of the behavior that we're seeing is really people just. I mean, just my experience at working at Air America still continues to hold, which is that more often than not, it's just a huge amount of incompetence with maybe one tiny sort of I think these guys are just their behavior is more criminal than it is espionage. But I think it's just one of those things where they didn't realize they were talking to Russian operatives.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I'm agreeing with you. I think it is more criminal. I'm even saying, I think in Trump's mind, I don't even really think he fully gets how criminal it is, because I don't think he processes stuff that way.
No, I'm just
if it's in his interest, it's not criminal.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just fine. If other people don't exist in his brain, I mean, I'm not even saying that to attack him. I think this is honestly just, he's so narcissistic that this is just the way he works. So those contractors who he didn't pay, for all of his casinos, that was his business plan. That wasn't like he was angry or whatever. It was, here's a way to get out of paying money, and that helps me, and that's what matters. That's how the world works to him. So whether it's a contractor whose piano company goes out of business because he won't pay the guy for, delivering his pianos to Atlantic City casinos, or it's trading, the Ukraine and saying, who cares about them? I'm going to get money from this, and I'm going to get, power from this. That's all the same in his mind. It's about what benefits Trump. So I don't really even think he gets fully the criminal actions or the treason, frankly, that it is. But I do think Carter Page and some of these other guys probably do. And it doesn't really matter whether Trump gets it or not. It's illegal. And I have no doubt in my mind he was actively involved. The question is for them to prove that link.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about, the like I say, the beauty of this stuff. And I don't know, I guess there was a report that Michael Steele, right, was telling his clients, what was it?
Michael Steele told West Wing reports at a lunch yesterday that Trump isn't going to finish his term and to start making connections with Vice President Pence.
Now, that's the type of thing that you would anticipate a guy like Michael Steele who works in that world saying just to get the ball rolling. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, sometimes you go out there and you say these things to put the idea out there, and so people, get the idea that that's happening, and that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But so the upshot of this stuff is that it is a huge distraction. Nevertheless, there's really basically two prongs where the Trump administration continues to do damage, and this is. And we may see it even more so, obviously, when we get to the budget. It'll be interesting to see if there's a government shutdown. But I want to talk first about this vote that the Republicans took. I mean, this is, I don't know, this Title 10
about
thing.
the Title 10?
Yeah, please, tell us about it.
Well, so it essentially, they tried already, as people probably know, as part of their repeal and replace the ACA to completely defund Planned Parenthood to a point where Medicaid would not be able to cover using Planned Parenthood. And that would have been a much bigger blow even than this. But for the Title 10 funds, it basically allows states to pull funds from being used for birth control family planning. And this is, I guess, the closest they can get. I didn't see the exact.
Well, it's not even birth. No federal funds are allowed to be used for abortion. So
that's already the law.
That's already law. So basically, it says the U.S. government gives funds to states earmarked for Planned Parenthood as part of providing because through Medicaid payments, essentially,
Right,
providing
non-abortion, yeah.
healthcare issues for women because these clinics are in places where there's no other options for women to get healthcare, broad healthcare, and broad-based healthcare. And this basically
were you saying healthcare for broad?
Right, exactly. And this basically allows right-wing reactionary states to cut that funding to Planned Parenthood.
And it ends up not being just right-wing reactionary states, sadly, because, again, we have to all remember, and I'm reminded of this daily living in one of these states, that with what Republicans accomplished in 2010, we're talking about Pennsylvania, although at least they've got a Democratic governor now, but we're talking about Michigan, we're talking about Ohio, we're talking about, Arizona, we're talking about plenty of swing states where Republicans gerrymandered their way to still massively controlling these states, and they can cut the funding that's going to Planned Parenthood. So this was sort of like their second choice, a way to still at least stop funds in some places from going to Planned Parenthood, hurting them because they couldn't pull off the overall deal. And the real pathetic shame of it is that Mike Pence was the tie-breaking vote on it. They can only get 50 votes. The two that I remember speaking out against it, shockingly, were women, not shockingly, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. I'm assuming they're the two that didn't vote for it. But I think some people better remind in 2018 Dean Heller of Nevada and Jeff Flake of Arizona, who are both in swing states, particularly Nevada, which is trending well to the left. I mean, pathetic. Heller sort of tries to sell himself as a reasonable moderate, and all they're doing with this is hurting women. And as I said earlier, Mike Pence, he won't sit alone in a room with a woman while he's cutting their health care.
Right.
He'll just sit alone in a room filled with old white guys while he's cutting their health care.
They literally had to wheel Johnny Isaacson in from back surgery. He used a walker, apparently, to get in there to vote to defund women's health care. I mean, that is...
it's weird.
It's that type of commitment you like to see, right? I mean, that's
it's weird.
Nice.
It's weird because Johnny Isaacson, from what I hear, is still getting paid, even though he had to have let's call it health care emergency that he wasn't planning for and had to leave. But it's weird. He still gets his money, almost as if like some people get paid sick leave care even when they're not showing up for work due to an operation they weren't counting on. It's a very strange phenomenon.
Well, he's very, very fortunate guy that he works in such a generous
I know I've heard
employer.
him say how that businesses shouldn't be required to do that. So it's interesting. I almost would think he wouldn't accept that kind of thing for himself, being the honorable man that he is.
Indeed. All right. Well, let's also talk about this. What's going on in the environment at this point, because the deconstruction of the administrative state, as Steve Bannon talked about. I mean, this is where it hurts the most. And even though there's going to be a lot of court cases and the sort of unraveling of our climate change mitigation strategy, as anemic as it is, even though that's going to be hard to do, it's the big issue is it's sending a broader message to the rest of the world that we're no longer on board with these programs. So
that's the bigger.
You're a sucker if you are.
Believe it or not, I think is the sixth biggest economy in the world. California, who's moving forward on a lot of the things we're backing off on, can mitigate a lot. When you think about the state being, 1/7 or whatever it is of the population of the United States, you throw in New York, who I've heard now rumbling is going to move in a very positive direction on that, and that's not. Those are just two states. There are others. That's not to say, look, the federal government's still a federal government, and it's going to hurt in serious ways. But at least we can mitigate somewhat the policy. But what you're saying is exactly right. It's the message. The message that's sent is loud and clear, and all it does is it encourages others to jump off the bandwagon or not jump on. And it's just such a crisis in leadership. It's pathetic. So I mean, this was expected. Scott Pruitt? It wasn't like there was a smoke screen, no pun intended,
right.
if you will. We knew who they were putting there. We've known for a long time what their policies are. And again, to Donald Trump, he couldn't care either way. If this is going to make the people who are supporting him happy, that's what he's for, But It is watching them deconstruct it administratively, watching them bring the Scott, what the hell is his name, Rick Scott plan to town, where the people are no longer allowed to even mention it.
Right.
It's not to be. I mean, now we're talking about free speech too. It's not to be talked about. It's not to be. I mean, these guys are such hypocrites. Right? I mean, money is speech, but speech isn't speech, I guess.
I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago at the EPA that you were the Office of Science, or I should say the climate change mitigation. They had changed their whole standard upon which you judge laws at the Energy Department. And there's only one division apparently of the Energy Department, the Office of International Climate and Clean Energy. Department at the Department of Energy. Supervisor has told staff earlier this week not to use the phrases climate change, emissions reduction, or Paris Agreement in written memos, briefings, or other written communication.
I mean, that's straight from the Rick Scott playbook in Florida, which he did. And I don't remember. Do you remember, Sam? I feel like it became subject to a lawsuit down there, but I may be wrong about that, where he banned those terms from being used, which is ironic because not to make you and I any older than we are, Sam, we wouldn't want to do that. But there is going to be a day you and I are going to be sitting there on, rocking chairs on a porch, maybe at your place in upstate New York. Do you still have that place?
Yep.
Sweet. I'm going to be there with you. We're going to be very gray, probably in our 70s, grandkids bouncing around, and half of what used to be the state of Florida is going to be underwater at that time.
That's right. It's it's depressing. I mean, you can in some of the other areas you can reverse this stuff. This not so much.
No,
and so
this one. I mean, and then, again, the big irony of the fact that it's Rick Scott led the way on this, and then that Marco Rubio, who is actually from the part of Florida where the water is now running into the streets when there's high tide sometimes. I mean, where it's going blocks up from the beach. Like, the evidence is right there in front of their faces.
Yep.
I mean, talk about your place in history. I'm interested to see what Marco Rubio's is when his hometown disappears because of his lack of action. It's pathetic.
Officials at the State Department and other DOE offices said they had not been given a banned words list. I mean, these, of course, are departments that don't work directly with climate change, but they had started avoiding climate-related terms in their memos and briefings because they got the message.
And then that's the other thing too, by the way, which I guess I know we have to go, so maybe we'll end on that point, which is, again, people know this who work at jobs anywhere. Culture comes from the top down, and your boss sort of sets expectations, and they don't have to always overtly tell you what to do. You just kind of know from the way they behave. So even in places where these words haven't been banned in parts of our government, the culture is very clear that this is not to be talked about. It's not to be discussed rationally. It doesn't exist. And that is incredibly harmful.
Yep. I don't know. Maybe President Mike Pence will be better on this stuff.
Maybe President anybody who's not one of these criminals
I'm joking.
in 2020.
Of course it's not the case.
No, I know you're joking. I'm just saying the one thing I am enjoying is as Trump hit 35% approval, and you see not people like you and me, your Larry Sabatos and others who are the quote-unquote objective folks saying that if the election were held now, there's a good chance the Democrats would take back the House. That's the only thing I, try to hold out hope for. Although it does make me think that Trump will try to gin up some sort of, who knows what, war of some sort or whatever when his numbers are. I think he's heading for the Bush 26, as I like to call it. It's that 26% of our population that you could tell anything and they'd believe.
That's right. All right. Well, maybe next week we'll talk about John Ossoff, who's running in Georgia, and James Thompson, who's running in Kansas. There's a race there, and Rob Quist, who's running in Montana. I think
I've
there's
been
one.
hearing great things about that one in Montana, that he's raised like $750,000 already, and people are very. I don't know as much about the one in Kansas. I'm not taking anything away from it. That may be a great one too, but obviously everybody's heard a lot about Ossoff, and I'm starting to hear a lot about Quist also.
Yeah, and these will be important races. We can talk about them next week because they're about 3 weeks off, I think, from actually happening. So that's going to be not just an indicator, but it's going to be one of those indicators that is going to end up being sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think, in terms of what the Republicans are able to do legislatively. But Cliffy,
I think that can send a lot of messages to a lot of swing districts. In any case, yes, I know we. Thank you for having me on, as always.
Always a pleasure. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Yep, bye.
All right, folks.
Dad.
Poor Flynn.
You don't have information?
I can just say, let me just say that I think it's quite clear that Passover at the Flynn household is going to be a little awkward.
Dad. Pass the challah. What the hell? It's totally unfair.
Pass the challah on Passover?
Oh, you're right.
Hmm.
Well, dude, it's the Flynn family. They wouldn't know.
Yes. It's weird. They all converted to Judaism without knowing.
We converted to the Jew religion to keep Dad out of prison. It's not even working. What the hell? It's totally unfair. Date rape is still illegal 65 days into the Trump presidency. Talk about hashtag sellout. Dad.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, many of you who are a long time listeners, I'm talking like going way back. And I think what we'll do, we've got some days off following Passover in like a week or two. And I think for those days, what we'll do for members is include, I think I have them organized in one place, at least like a half dozen of the calls David Waterman used to make into the Majority Report, fake calls that Janine and I would interview him. And so people may remember this guy from that. And I think he's called into this program over the years. But David Waterman, my old buddy from Boston and L.A., is doing a podcast, which I will let him and Maggi Mayfield tell us about. But we're going to take a quick break, and hopefully they'll give us a movie suggestion as well. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
I'll give you power over me. I'll give you power, but now I gotta be free. I'll give you power, but now I say I'll give you power. I can take it away. I can take it away. I give you power over me, over me. I give you power, I give you power, but I gotta be free. I give you power, I give you power, but now I say I give you power. I can take it away. I can take it away. Watch me. Take it away. Watch me. I can take it away. Watch me. Take it away. Watch me now. I give you power. I give you power over me. Over me. I give you power. I give you power. I gotta be free. I gotta be free. I give you power. I give you power. But now I say I give you power. I give you power. I can take it away. I can take it away. I can take it away. I give you power over me. I give you power, but I gotta be free. I give you power. Now I say I can't watch you take it away.
We are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report on the phone. It is a real pleasure to welcome Maggi Mayfield. She is the host of YTunes Shuffle and also David Waterman. Is that how I pronounce it, David?
Well, usually there's an Earl because I'm a three-name person.
David Earl Waterman. Maggi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, guys, of course, Maggi, I've never met you. David, I've met you many, many times for prolonged periods of time. Have I met you? Ongoingly have I known you. You, of course, have called into the show many times, incognito. Maggi has not. So, Maggi, tell us how it is that you started doing a podcast with David Waterman. Why?
About a year ago, I moved to Los Angeles because I thought I was going to make it as an actor. And I decided to do this improv audition, and I met David on stage as my audition partner. And he was crazy and silly, and he ran off stage. And then as we got to talking and knowing each other, he was like, I've got this crazy idea for a show. And I said, do you know that I have years of experience doing radio? And he was like, stop it. So I said, if you trust me, I think we can make this something amazing. And I think we've done it.
You do. I mean, I listened to a couple episodes, and I got to say, I really enjoyed it. I did not realize, though, David, that Chuck Sklar was on this week.
Yeah, a mutual friend of ours, original Conan writer, collaborator with Chris Rock, Louis C.K. We're starting to get guests, that have got some pretty impressive resumes.
Chuck's not good. Chuck's resume is not impressive.
Chuck Sklar?
He won't talk to me anymore. Chuck won't talk to me anymore. He will not talk.
You're kidding me.
No, he hasn't talked to me in 12 years.
Chuck and I are playing a lot of poker these days together, and it's weird. I don't talk to a lot of the old crew that we started
he
out
specifically won't talk to me. Let me tell you why. All right, and we had back when he was working on the Kamal Bell show, I ran into Hari Kondabolu, and I didn't realize that Chuck. So we had Hari on the show, and he told me that Chuck was the head writer. And now, Chuck won't talk to me since I didn't invite him to my wedding 12 years ago.
Why didn't you invite him?
Well, just because. You must have picked this up, Maggi, on the podcast, right? That Chuck is he's just interested in himself. And I was just I'm not going to have him. I'm not going to have him at my wedding.
This is...
I don't need any more gifts. I don't need your gift, Chuck.
Did this come up in the podcast on YTunes Shuffle?
No. Your name did not come up, interestingly enough, but you may be interested in knowing that for the first time in the 26 years I've known Chuck, we've known Chuck.
Yeah.
He shed a tear on YTunes Shuffle. Our show, our podcast, is a diversion from the sort of, high-intensity, politically charged shows and standard interviews. We get to the nitty-gritty, and Chuck teared up. So
why did he tear up? Was he? It wasn't because he wasn't invited to my wedding. What could make him? What could make him that sad?
Well, Maggi, explain what happens during a musical interlude with one of our guests and why they tear up. And I do too.
Well, Maggi, wait a second. Why don't you also tell what the show is about too? What you guys do? It's a good idea. I mean, it's actually I was surprised at how engaged that was by it. I mean, no offense, but I mean, I don't mean that in that way. I mean, I really did find that.
Do you get invited to a lot of weddings?
No, I don't get invited to any weddings. The only wedding I went to was mine. But Maggi, wait, tell us about the show.
So YTunes Shuffle is a show where we invite comedians, up-and-coming producers, writers, creative people, and we go through the music on their playlist that kind of informs their life. So music is this common thread that really brings us back to lots of memories. That makes us think about our family life, our parents, our first kiss, our first job, the first time we got in trouble, the first time, you did something you shouldn't have done. And I think we can all connect to that. So even though I might not be an AC/DC fan, that might bring you back to, a first concert that you went to, and we can all share those stories, even though the music might not be the same. And it's a cool way to explore new stuff. I've learned so many new songs and new artists just by doing the few episodes that we've done so far.
Is it awkward when Waterman, his favorite playlist is all big bands from the 30s that he listened to as a young child?
No, you know what though? We do this segment called Guilty Pleasure, and I'll admit, like, I guiltily like Justin Bieber, and then he came back out with me. He's like, I like gospel music. Like, what? All right.
Wait, golf?
So call me out, David.
Gospel music.
It's not Southern Baptist, like gospel lunch at the House of Blues. I like straight Christian, right out of the pulpit, who's who in the pew type stuff. The old rugged cross, and they will know we are Christians by our love, I don't know why, but, maybe it's because I have rabbit ears on my television and I don't actually pay for cable. I have 27 purely Christian channels, and they're either playing those songs or telling me how awful a person I am on a daily basis. So,
no, but you never went to church growing up, did you, Earl?
No, I grew up in a what they used to call a reform school, and I was on high intensity lockdown for most of my youth, and so my musical experience. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, you should have.
But YTunes Shuffle. Just think about the times when I think when you were living with Benjamin back in Cambridge, and was it Porter Square or
we were in
when we just
Union Square. That was actually technically Somerville.
Well, okay, yeah, and YTunes Shuffle is really captures that moment in time that we've all experienced. We're hanging out with friends, just cranking tunes, and the connections that people make musically, like big band does come up. I had. It's amazing. We had a guest that came on, Mark Rosella, producer, director, guy I'm making some films with out here in LA, and Maggie as well. We're working with him. He brought in a set list of songs that he liked that were all contemporary, popular, recognizable titles, but they were all covers. It was a really interesting, interview and sort of song list. But what really happens is not just the, oh, cool, great song, that's really interesting. Where's the first time you heard it? How old were you? Where were you living? Who was your best buddy? Where'd you go to school? What did you do at school? All of that stuff. There are connections that constantly get formed that not only excite Maggie and I, but our listeners can relate to people on a level that's sort of an even playing field. Most people that listen to interview shows with successful artistic people don't make films. They're not actors. They don't know what being on a sitcom is like. But with music, everybody can relate. That's like the magic of YTunes Shuffle. Yeah.
So, Earl, what songs do you remember from when we lived in? Because I should also say that you and I lived we weren't roommates, but we lived in the same shared bathroom down the hall house.
We've lived in the same rooming house.
That house?
Sam Seder had a loft bed in his apartment in Cambridge. He didn't have a remote for his TV, so he fashioned this stick and put masking tape on the end and formed it into like a claw. So from his loft bed, he could reach down with a stick and turn the channels on the old-fashioned television so he wouldn't have to get out of bed. We were so poor and so destitute. But, I mean,
I remember Earl. Let me tell Maggie this. Let me embarrass David a little bit. Now, Earl doesn't. You don't drink anymore.
No,
you don't drink anymore. But I do remember distinctly.
20 years this year, baby. 20 years.
Wow, really? Holy cow!
Yeah.
I still remember this moment like it was.
I smoke a lot of weed. I smoke weed like crazy.
So Waterman he worked at a facility about 10 miles out from where we lived, maybe 6 miles out. We were in Cambridge at that point. It worked in one, I think it was in Watertown, or I can't remember where it was. And David used to jog to work every night, and he would work the overnight. And one night he comes in, either it was the next morning when you had jogged back or when you were going, and you came and he goes, Seder, I figured out how to get rid of my shin splints. I drink a half a bottle of wine before I run.
I I would drink a bottle of wine, and I would be pain-free from the jog to.
You imagine drinking a bottle of wine and then jogging 7 miles?
You know those things that were like trendy with bikers,
Yeah.
those like camel packs. I'm just picturing this dude with like a wine in it. He's just sucking it.
Well, there's a section in the Boston Marathon where you don't go to like a water station. They got like beer stations. They got coffee stations, hot chocolate. I think they got a station now.
Yeah.
It's not completely unheard of. Yeah, yeah.
No, it's completely unheard
I was
it's-
gonna say
it's
there's an entire running group now where you drink beer and then run on the side. They're beer drinkers with a bad running habit.
That is
I want to say like they're called the Hashers. Yeah.
Is that true? That's not true.
Well, Sam, to your question about what song would appear, like the first song that comes to mind when I think about, at least in my experience when we were together, I don't remember the artist's name off the top of my head, but it's a song that I would hear so often, and it's, we're never going to survive unless we get a little crazy. And we were so crazy in those days. I mean, do you remember?
I never heard that song. No, I've never heard that song. What are you talking about? Matt's going to look it up. I've never. Now is the time. That doesn't sound like a song at all.
That's
what was the song?
Crazy, by the way.
Who is he?
Seal. That's right, Maggie. It's Seal. Well done. Now, remember Chris Shino would open up our cross comedy shows? You do remember that, the barking sound effect before the song. I can't remember the name of the artist.
Hold on. Seal? When would we listen to Seal? What? No, this is not the kind of music I would listen to.
This is me, Sam. This is about me and what I was feeling in those days.
What is it? If I wanted to interview Chuck Sklar, I would have.
It's a great song.
I could
Wait,
see
when
you
was
in
this song?
stretch
When did this
pants
song? All right,
running
hold
to
on for
this
1
sound.
second. When did this? This is just what you would. Is this what you were listening to as you were jogging to Watertown? When was this song from? All right, okay, we got enough of this. When was this song from?
Like, I would say 92, something like that.
Yeah, it was like early 90s. I remember it was big on the radio. I was in love with that song.
No, I wouldn't.
Who did the song Got Caught Stealing? Was that Jane's Addiction?
Yeah. I guess that, yeah, I remember. Right, yes. Shino would play that. He would DJ a lot, right?
Yeah, remember just before we go on stage with Cross Comedy, working with comedians like Dave Cross, John Groff, Louis C.K., Ron
I remember
Lynch.
all
We
those
were
people.
amongst like the creme de la creme of today's like kings of comedy. And Got Caught Stealing would
Maggie,
be the song that we'd like, here we go, the show's starting. That's a YTunes Shuffle memory.
Does David always bring that up? Does he always say that we were all in that group? Does he say that all the time?
Yeah, he name drops a lot.
Shamelessly.
Oh my
Shamelessly.
God. And do you tell him you got to back off that? I've heard this story 100 times. Is he telling you the same stories over and over again?
No, not the same. But it's the same. It's the same names. He's like, oh well, when I was in Boston, and John H. Benjamin and David Cross, we were all roommates.
I got nothing else to talk about in my life worth a damn. So
Well,
I have to recycle these stories.
Now, he
But
doesn't tell.
Maggie Mayfield is amazing. Maggie Mayfield, and she gets me, Sam, in the same way that you get me. Not a lot of people get me, which is what my current agent says. It's like I know a lot. My agent, the first thing she said to me is, "I bet a lot of people don't get you." Some do. Sam Seder is one, and Maggie Mayfield is one. Maggie, please tell Sam the little thing you say about me, which just I'm just so it makes me so happy.
I didn't realize that he would be repeating all these names, but he'll come in with some of these guests sometimes. I'm like, you are Hollywood's secret weapon. People don't even know what you know.
How about that? Hollywood's secret weapon.
Oh, is that what you call him? Hollywood's
Sam
secret
just threw up in
weapon?
his mouth a little bit.
I did. It made me a little bit nauseous. I should say that anybody who's seen Pilot Season or Who's the Caboose or gotten the extras on, they wouldn't recognize your face, I think, in bad situations because I think I had you in a mask.
Like Louis C.K. had me in a mask in Caesar Salad, his first.
Yes, that's
like
right.
The story of my life.
Like Louis C.K. That's the third time you brought up his name in the.
Who, Louis C.K.? That's the third time I've brought Louis C.K.'s name, but I know Louis C.K. personally.
Now,
we were both pursuing Lawrence
you know what's
Goldsmith at the same
amazing?
time in Cambridge.
So we have known each other, and Maggie, you and I have known each other for about 15 minutes on the phone. And Waterman and I have known each other now for, is it really 26 years? No. Yes.
Well, it was 1990.
Somewhere around there. I remember when I rented some house with Amy Silver, who is now functionally equivalent to John Benjamin's wife. And it was like somebody from the Mamas and Papas, their house. And we were living in the basement, and there was only a certain area, or he was married to one of the Mamas and Papas or something like that. And
I remember that.
We were living in the basement, and half of it was taped off. We weren't allowed to go across the tape.
In West Hollywood?
Yes.
West Hollywood, right?
Yes, and you were doing Don't Forget Your Toothbrush, or
an ABC, Capital Cities, Brillstein Gray production. Go ahead.
And I remember sitting in there going like, man, I can't believe it was so long ago that we were in Boston together, and now look at us. And that was not much longer than, we're 3 times that out from now. And I guess my question to you is like, God, you're old, David.
52 years of age. Yeah, 52. Yeah. I'm old.
Well, you certainly don't act like it. That's for sure.
That's true. You really got to grow up a little bit.
You didn't sound very complimentary.
Wonderful it is to have met Maggie. I mean, I can't tell you that Maggie is in the stand-up world right now. She's where we were 20 years ago, and it's amazing to watch her, do a show. Right now, Maggie's got the Challenge Mic, an open mic show that she's doing, YTunes Shuffle. Maggie is the producer of the midday show at Coast FM. I mean, big deal stuff.
What is that like?
That's what's really motivated me, is to meet someone with the energy that we had 20 years. I couldn't do it without Maggie.
Now, Maggie, you're traveling, doing stand up across the country. Is that right? I mean, are you doing road gigs or no?
I have. I don't travel quite as much because I do have a full-time job here in LA, but that's the plan.
That's the plan, is to
get
go
out.
And how long you been doing? Where did you come from originally?
Born and raised in New Jersey, but I spent the last 7 years in Illinois and, just south of Chicago fulfilling the radio dream. And I was like, no one can see me back here. So I was like, I'm going to do stand-up. That's pretty much what happened. I got divorced, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go talk about this on a forum where I can say the F word a few more times.
You got divorced? I mean, so how long were you married for? You sound like you're young.
13 months.
Oh, 13 months?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get married in Vegas?
No, we were together for like 6 years in total, but we got married, and then I was like, no, just kidding. Those pants don't fit. I don't want to wear those anymore. So that, yeah.
You got divorced because you grew out of your pants?
Pretty much.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, he's great. But he wanted the white picket fence, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that.
Oh, I understand that. Yeah, that's why David's still single, I think.
Basically, we got a dog, and he was like, I really want to get a dog. I'm like, cool, we'll do that. He's like, I promise, I'll help walk and take care of it, and then never did any of that. And then he was like, now that we're married, let's have a baby. I'm like, you didn't even want to take care of a dog.
I love, though, how that story pivoted really hard. You went from he wanted the white picket fence to basically like, yeah, he's kind of a shiftless loser who couldn't even take care of a dog. I like those tracks there.
That happened to me as well. That happened to me as well, only I didn't get married. I just had someone move in and then realized that he could not even take care of himself.
And actually, that reminds me that Waterman, didn't you break up with somebody because you wouldn't take care of the dog?
Karma.
That's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact. The dog was dying. It needed to be carried down 2 flights of stairs. It smelled. And this person, really didn't have anything that I could, benefit from. It was like all me and not. I don't know what you're talking about. I never broke up
How
with
heavy
somebody
was the
because I
dog?
David's lying. He's lying about
I
it.
don't think. I don't think he's telling
Maggie,
the truth.
you realize, right, that David is a pathological liar, right? I mean, has that?
Wait, can I just?
I know.
I like back to the first guy, the first husband. I like that image. Like, oh yeah, I wanted the white picket fence. I'm not going to clean it. Fuck that. That guy sounds awesome. Kid, you want me to raise it? What?
For the first 5 years that I knew David Waterman, he had maintained, and there was no reason not to believe him, that he had fought in the Falklands War.
That's right.
Or no, wait, was it down in Grenada?
Grenada.
Yeah, he had told us he had fought in Grenada. No reason. It wasn't like, with a bunch of comedians, we were all just like, man, I wish there was someone we were hanging with who had fought in Grenada. And Waterman had just maintained that he had.
Well,
maybe you can clear this up for me, Sam.
What's that?
Maybe you can. He told me the story that there was a game they used to play. Maybe it was with Cross Comedy where it was called Stop David, where he would just talk, and then if you were like, no, this is complete a BS story, then you would be like, stop, David, and then you'd have to come forth.
Yes. At one point, we realized nothing he's saying is true for the first 2 or 3 years. And it was just the Grenada thing was like the last thing I think that fell. Because after a while, I started realizing he's just making it up. He's completely making it up.
I really felt like one of those guys you see on the news that has all the ribbons and the medals, and they kind of bust him, and he's kind of in his uniform. It didn't end well, and the whole time I just kind of went with it. My therapist has helped me figure out exactly why I have a propensity to do that. It's amazing. It's called chronic alcoholism and drug abuse. One of the factors that goes into that particular lifestyle. It's like I don't even know where I am. I'll just start talking. But no, it's not a particularly proud chapter of my life, and I won't deny it. But I have a tendency to just spin yarns, tall tales, and just bold-faced lie about stuff. I don't know why. It's gotten better.
I find it very charming. I mean, that's one of the things that I really appreciate about you.
Wait, so you helped liberate Grenada from socialism?
Well, I was activated with the 82nd Airborne.
Right.
I was going to a community college in upstate New York, Tompkins Cortland Community College.
Right.
Got my paperwork.
Right.
I was on a C-130 out of Syracuse, New York that night. Didn't know where I was going, what I was doing. Got into my BDUs and my web gear. Got a helmet on the plane. I parachuted out. I was the first guy out. First guy to hit terra firma. Looked to my left, looked to my right. Started blasting my M60.
Did you even know?
Before I knew it,
did you know what the New Jewel movement was before you even went there, or you just parachuted right in?
I was trained to kill.
Right.
I was trained to kill. And that's where my focus is and was during the entire time. It was like, you get in front of my M60, you get into my line of fire, and you're going down, asswipe.
Do you still? Are you seeing anybody at the VA or anything? Like, do you have to work out those experiences?
I actually am a volunteer at the VA, and I'm helping out, people now. I can't go on. I can't.
That was so good. Oh, that's the most charming pathological lying I've ever heard.
There was,
I'm good, aren't I? I switch into. I believe it myself. There's some. Wait, did I really?
I don't want to flatter you too much, David, and so I'm only going to just do it for this one moment. But that is one of the things I think that has always made you, in my mind, a comic genius, is that you can just go with something. And I just remember one time there was some bit that we written in the comedy lab. I wrote it for you. You took it and you did stuff with it that I just couldn't even wrap my head around. It was hilarious. And you told me afterwards that you had no idea what you were saying. Like, literally did not understand the words that you were saying, but had added to it. And I think that's. I think that's as far as I'm going to compliment you. I don't want to.
No, please, Sam. I mean, I love you, buddy. You are one of the people that has definitely gotten where I'm coming from. And Maggie's the most recent, but I got to say, this YTunes Shuffle, it's legit, man. I mean, I'm not on there to, that's. It's a different experience for me. I'm listening. we're listening to the guests and the music, and I'll tell you, it's.
I feel like
it
Maggie
definitely
really.
is,
In the shows I heard, I feel like Maggie really does listen.
Yeah.
You don't think that David listens?
I do.
Are you there, David, or do you do your lines after?
Yeah.
Are you there with the
I'm sorry, I
guest?
didn't hear what you said. What?
Is David there with the guest, or does he just do his lines afterwards?
No, he's there. We're
We
all
have
there.
photos on Instagram to prove it.
You
Hey,
just
listen,
come in for the
is
photo shoot.
anybody in that room with you right now, Sam, yourself or anybody have an iPhone that has a musical library on it? Is there anybody there that has that can just kind of
Yes.
hit shuffle
Yeah, we all
and see
do.
what's the response?
Yeah, we all do.
I don't.
Do it. So somebody do it, and let's see what story goes with that song. Don't pick a song. Just let the shuffle randomly.
Oh,
pick.
is that the way you do it? Or do people?
No,
actually-
that's one of our
the
little
show,
side gigs.
weirdo.
Our
That's a
guests have
side
5,
thing. He does it. They people choose the song. People choose the songs. Yeah. Why?
Yeah, but
why
just
the
the-
misleading name shuffle if it's not really a shuffle?
Well, we're surprised. Maggie and I are surprised, and the
Yeah, we're
audience
surprised.
is surprised. So, it's like we don't
No,
know what
this
the
is
story
like-
behind the song is going to be. It's not just the musical selection shuffling. It's like, what's the story behind this?
Yeah,
you
but
know?
but this is like I remember I never even listened to the show growing up, but it was so devastating to hear that the Car Talk guys, they didn't spontaneously answer those questions. They had
knew
those
them in
questions in advance. It's the same thing.
Blowing the lid off this
I
whole-
just got disillusioned about your show in a 15-minute
Yeah.
interview.
Sorry, Maggie and David, or should we say click and clack? All right, hold on. Hold on for a
we had
second.
talked about that.
Kelly has a song.
Okay,
right.
hit it.
Hit it. It's not. Oh wait, do you want me to
play it into your mic?
I don't think
Play
so.
it.
What do you mean? Why did you pick out a song if you're not going to play it?
Pick it. It came up in the shuffle.
Well,
Play it in the mic.
Let's hear it.
Hear it.
Play it into the mic. Wait, it's a baby
Circus
crying?
music?
It's Nirvana.
Yeah.
Rape me.
And this song just came up randomly.
That's the
Are
song
you
that came up
embarrassed of
randomly.
that?
So tell us what the name of that song is, Kelly.
The name of the song is "Rape Me," but
what does that remind you of?
It's a great song. I
No,
mean,
it reminds
it
me
reminds you
of-
of everything right
it
now.
reminds
This is
me of
YTunes
the
Shuffle
first time
Gold.
that I
this
really.
is YTunes Shuffle Gold. Talk about that song, Kelly.
This is. It's the first time that I really thought about. My first experience with censorship that I really had to turn over and over and over, because when this came out, what was it? Was it Walmart? Wouldn't sell it, the album.
I had that problem with the D12 CD.
Wouldn't sell the album, and I was really upset over that because
Where were you living, Kelly, at the time, and how old were you?
I was living in Pittsburgh, and I was probably this album 15 or
God.
no
How
13.
how did you wind up getting it?
At the mall?
Was it like a friend? Did a friend have it?
Well,
and then you were
no.
We're just gonna go over there and listen
You
to
could get
or-
it at the. You could get it at the mall. It was just Walmart censored it, and I was like there was no internets. There wasn't an internet back then, but the internet wasn't a big thing, and so I read every magazine known to man, and I was really big into music magazines and Nirvana.
So at 15, were you beginning to start to feel your political awareness? Like, what were you involved in school, and what were your friends' sort of topics of
These guys are like
discussion?
forensic
was that your
investigators.
first kind of
I
political
mean,
awakening?
all right, one
What
more
was
question.
I involved in school?
Like the Inquisition.
Having panic attacks over my grades so that I got straight A's, even though I was just getting high and.
But what
fucked
about
up
the
all
ISIS
time.
Islam?
That's it. That's just a little example of the life.
Super angsty.
Do you want to go? Do you want to
random-
go around the rest of the circle here?
No,
I would certainly like to hear whatever comes out of Sam's phone.
Here's mine.
Yeah.
Oh, stop it! It's not even. And actually, Sam, can you explain what this song does for you? I think it actually does really
tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak
your
tree.
emotional
I remember
state.
when Don and this is actually
Tony Orlando and Don.
This is this is the one that I like to listen to quite a bit on. This is on my playlist.
God Save the Queen.
No, it's not God Save the Queen. It's Uber Alles. Come on, David.
Oh, sorry.
All right, guys. So YTunes Shuffle. YTunes Shuffle. I imagine we can find that on iTunes. Have they attempted to sue you yet?
No.
Do you anticipate being sued?
It's on iTunes.
you can play
and
it.
You can get it on the iHeartRadio app as well.
On the iHeartRadio app. Well, it's been a real pleasure, Maggie. I got to tell you, I don't know how you do it, day in, day out.
You know, I can just say, I mean, it's ironic because my dad actually was in Grenada.
Shut up.
It's a lie.
a liar.
I'm trying to match Waterman.
My stomach is
It's
full
not
of
as good as
butterflies
his.
now. Like
He's been transported back.
Can never let it die.
Well, Maggie, I have to say that just from your picture, you have a great comic smile. She has this humongous. She does. She has a huge smile, and she has a really shiny side part. Beautiful hair.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, she's gonna make it all the way.
Tell me more about my eyes. Thank you.
Where's your
65% of our
ex-husband
male
now? He
guests,
sounds like an interesting guy.
Email Maggie for a date.
Maggie, where's your ex-husband? He sounds like a fun guy to talk to.
Next week we're
Where's
gonna
my
have
what?
Maggie. Next
Where's
week,
your? I'm gonna book Maggie's ex-husband for the next time I host. Where is he? I mean, I at least like to hang out with him. It sounds like we have a very similar mentality about relationships.
I wonder what his what songs are on his iPod or whatever it is. Be interesting. Guys, we will put a link to your podcast. We always like to promote shows that are, actually like it's not a political show, so it doesn't compete. It's like more. It's got some real.
Hey, honey, I
heart
have an
to it.
awesome idea. How about we create a fucking kid, and I'm gonna kick back and have a couple of beers, and you'll take care of it.
You wash the fence.
How about you wash the fence? I'll
take
pick
care of
that
the
little
dog.
fucker up, throw him a couple times up in the air, then back to mom. That was the best transition.
Thank you for having us on Majority Report.
David doesn't want to talk
No,
about
David doesn't
Maggie.
like the
No,
banter
he doesn't
about the
like
ex-husband.
banter
I'm
about
sorry,
husband.
David.
It's a little sensitive for David.
That's
weird.
yeah, I apologize.
I don't know what's going on with that.
Anything you'd like to tell us?
David Waterman, Maggie Mayfield, thank you so much for coming on, guys. We will link to YTunes Shuffle at majority.fm. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Are they off?
Yeah.
So basically, they just ripped off Desert Island Discs for the internet.
Is that what it is?
age. Yeah.
What's Desert Island Discs?
No, it's a different show, but it's an old BBC show where they have people come on and pick literally like if you're on a desert island, what records do you take with you? But it's a little different.
It's a little bit like that.
different.
I mean, when I listened to
Definitely
it, I was like, this is a very, why hasn't somebody done this already? And I imagine maybe somebody has. I don't know. But it's actually...
I think it's smart because music, it really ties to memories. Like there are songs that I listened to when I was in
have this
London.
exchange like
Possibly,
the
yeah.
other day? You and I started playing that Everclear song.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I got it in my head because when I was in L.A., back out in the 90s, around the time that Waterman was out there to do Don't Forget Your Toothbrush, which was a British show, which we based the Don't Forget Your Mother-in-Law on from Pilot Season. On the radio, they played that Santa Monica Everclear song over and over again. There were no iPods, or I didn't have one, and I kept hearing that song, and it's like somewhere in my amygdala or somewhere around there, it's been like etched in, and I had to hear it the other days.
It like ties to all your memories from a certain time period.
Yes, it's very weird. And it's interesting to think about it.
My memory was a little bit screwed up on that now that I looked up when that album. No, the song that I played when
Was
that
from
album actually came out.
1 or 2?
93.
93, that was Teen Spirit.
No.
It wasn't on Teen Spirit. It was the one after.
Nevermind became
it was Nevermind.
right before
Right.
came before In Utero. But I was a lot younger, which is a theme in my life is that I think I'm older than I am. When I'm 5, I think that I'm 15. When I'm 10, then I'm.
Were you aware?
Better get on it, Grandma.
Actually, can I just ask you?
Yeah,
really-
right now I'm 70.
Hold up, real quick. Were you aware of the invasion of Grenada? Like, how old were you when that happened?
I was.
I mean, I have no idea. Were you in high school?
Grenade? No, I was in college.
You were in college, or I mean, was that something that you guys went out? I mean, because that just on its face is one of the most ludicrous things we've ever done.
It was incredible, but it was so quick
okay.
that it wasn't like. It was like you woke up in the morning like we invaded Grenada. We invaded what?
You know, it's like literally
Where?
like the. I mean, you know what Grenada is? It's this.
All I knew is
and they're trying
we
to
were
basically
saving a
do
med
like
school student.
minimal land reform, and we.
It was-
that was the cover story to save.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like there's a medical school there, and we got to save these Americans. But it was like literally you wake up in the morning. I mean, when was that? It must have been like somewhere in like 80. What was it? 80? I don't know.
I want to say 83.
Maybe I was in high school. If it was 80.
Yeah, the invasion of Grenada was in 1983.
Okay, so I was in high school. And I think it's like you wake up in the morning, we've invaded Grenada. What? Why? Because of the medical students. And
That's
then
just unbelievable. Because
by the end of the afternoon, it's over because it's Grenada.
That's incredible. No, because I think of so many atrocious things that we've done overseas, and I can understand just like even as soon as you get into Iraq, it's like, well, that's complicated. It's the Middle East. It's terrorism, all this stuff. But like on its face, like, wait, we just sent bombers into like a neighbor of Aruba to rescue medical. Like, how did that fly? It's unbelievable just because of how fast it was.
It was so quick that, and it was just like, oh, okay. I mean, it was just as if like you woke up in the morning, like they just brought the 82nd Airborne to arrest some pot dealers.
Right.
You know, like they did a home invasion of like, and I don't know. It was just one of those, I don't know, weird things. I mean, I guess I was in high school, so I probably didn't pay too much attention to it, but I do remember going like that. Why are we doing that? And the thing is that I think like one person died, 2 people died or something.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Unbelievable.
And it's just a weird invasion. All right. We have a Jimmy Reefer Cake song. Is that correct? Am I correct in making... folks, do check out that podcast. It is... I'm gonna listen to the Chuck Sklar one now. I mean, people who listened to when Hari was on the show, and that was probably years ago now.
Chuck Sklar does not like you.
Chuck Sklar will not talk to me
Not like you.
I
always like how you always frame it in this very like, I don't really get what the problem is. I didn't invite him to my wedding because he's a narcissistic bore.
No,
But,
I didn't.
mean,
At the time,
why would that upset him?
Listen, at the time, I didn't invite him to the wedding because I hadn't talked to him in a year. And he was in LA, and I thought, like, I don't want to put him in that position where he's going to fly to New York. And, I hadn't talked to him a year. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. And then he was really mad. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's not like you missed that much.
Was he part of like a crew that you invited the rest of the crew?
No, not particularly. I mean, he wasn't, Chuck's not a crew guy. And I was not a crew guy. I mean, Waterman was there. There was a couple of people there, but
I don't have a
had been
crew. What do I know?
in regular contact with. And it had been
How
a year.
come we weren't invited to your wedding?
It had been a year. I mean, it had been a year since I had talked to him.
The older you get, though, sometimes you don't talk to someone for a year, and then you kind of get right back on the same page. People come in and out, like.
Well, I understand, but
You know
I
what I
got
think
married
he-
12, almost 13 years.
I mean, look, Sklar got schlonged.
He did.
You schlonged
And
him.
he did.
I mean,
I
it's
felt
true.
bad,
It's
and
true.
I apologized.
And you know what? I mean, he got schlonged.
And I
you shouldn't be so
apologize.
sad
Now
about
you're
it.
saying that he didn't miss anything great, but I think that
I'm just saying
we
that
both
to make him
know.
feel better.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
Great. It was pretty great.
Yola
And-
Tango
yes.
was there.
Yep.
Which I've heard that about
Yes.
15 times.
There you go. Well, it's because you keep saying it.
Yola Tango was there at my wedding, and all the people but Chuck Sklar wasn't there. It was
And
so
so
much
I apologized
fun.
to him, and he still won't talk.
And then I went to
Because
the
you know what it
Caribbean and
was?
I
It was
got
also this.
hives.
It was also this, that when I would go to L.A., I would call to try and meet with him. But when he came to New York, he never called me. So I just assumed, like, okay, whatever. We can be, the don't come to my wedding, but I can still be friends with you type of friends. And
It's
apparently
not
we
your
couldn't.
friend,
Anyway.
Sam.
Anyway.
That's not your friend.
No. All right. What is Jimmy Reefer Cake song?
It is called Same Old Crap, Blame It on Trump.
Same old crap. Blame it on Trump. Here we go.
It's the same old crap in the news. Yeah, notice a common theme. The poor folks always lose. I know you want to blame it all on Trumpster. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that he's the only monster. Hillary should listen to what I said we need. Fuck all those politicians who won't legalize the weed. Legalize the weed. Like Obama could have already done through a simple executive order. Take it out the Schedule 1. God bless you, Obama, you handsome hypocrite. Let's rewrite history so Trump gets blamed for all of it. Yeah. Blame it on Trump. Drone strikes. You gotta blame it on Trump. Runaway CIA. Blame it on Trump. Marijuana on the Schedule 1. Will Trump raid medicinal providers the way Barack has already done? Will Sessions throw them all in jail? Every single one. It's the same old crap. Can't you see it's the same old crap? And they go on and blame it on Trump, but they could have avoided this whole mess by electing good folks like Bernie who support legalization on like that Hillary. But you go on and blame it on the Russians and the racists and the Green Party and Jimmy Dores and the Libertarians and the Bernie Bros. And of course me, the Jimmy Reefer Cakes.
Okay, there we go. Jimmy Reefer Cake. Same old thing. Now, the irony, of course, is Jimmy is playing, he turns on the news, same old stuff. Poor people getting screwed. I want to blame it on Trump. And the answer, like in the vast majority of Jimmy Reefer Cake songs, is in legalizing weed. We had only legalized weed. But it does seem that blaming it on Trump is probably preventing Jeff Sessions from having the political capital, frankly, to expend on essentially recriminalizing, for all intents and purposes, marijuana use in places like Massachusetts and Colorado and Washington.
May I point to an irony, if I may? I know that you people of the old book and the blood of Christ on your hands appreciate irony and your humor. So perhaps I could elucidate something, if you permit.
Yes, I'm going to just sit back and have a mint julep while you do so.
Oh, just like my old friend Lindsey Graham. Not surprising. Anyways, that being said, I am an opponent of legalizing the criminal Negro devil stick known as marijuana, or the jazz man's medicine, for a variety of reasons. It undercut morale in a certain secret society of which I'm partial to, and it makes white girls more likely to listen to the Negro's music and desire the swing of his hips. But I will say, in the case of Mr. Reefer Cake, he is ironically demonstrating the fact that perhaps this devilish substance erodes your brain and cognitive capacity to such a degree that he cannot see the fact that because my orange-faced rapist boss hands are tied, that has somewhat inhibited my ability to put him and his dispensary friends in a prison that I would so dearly love to lay them. Irony abounds, does it not, Jew boy?
Yes, indeed. And on that, ladies and gentlemen, I guess we're going to probably hear this in a song next week. Tulsi Gabbard has introduced H.R. 1227 to remove marijuana from the federal list of controlled substances. RT, if you support this, ending this bad policy, good for her. I imagine she's going to get a lot of RTs on that one.
Yeah, she's Tulsi Gabbard is Trump's the Twitter president. Tulsi's the sort of YouTube president almost. YouTube politician. I mean, she knows her bank.
Folks, don't forget MR Spring 17, 30% off your coffee starting tomorrow. Really, it's in April. So we're a little premature, but
we need
I want
to confirm that MR Spring 17 thing too, because we have some people in the chat room saying it wasn't working.
Yes, because it starts tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Starts April 1st. Sorry about that. Make sure you write that in the podcast description.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Right, what?
It's April 1st. Starting for the month of April. MR Spring 17. You get 30% off your coffee. I wanted people listen to the show on Saturday. And it'll be April then it'll work. And you go in, you get 30% off your coffee. If you like quality coffee, now's the time to try it out. You can try out they got a bunch of different roasts. They got a bunch of different locations. They got Arabica. And what's the other one? There's 2 types of different coffee, right?
I have no idea.
Well, maybe you better get
Matt, do you know? Do you know the types of coffee?
There's 2 different types. I can't remember what it is. Wait, maybe I think it's sativa.
Yeah, you're thinking of weed.
I don't think that's coffee.
Oh, that is so ironic.
But there are 2 types of coffee. There are 2 types of coffee. There are 2 types of coffee. Also, if you buy crap from Amazon, buy it through our link at majorityreportkickback.com. Go there, click on the Amazon link, bookmark it, buy all your Amazon crap through there. We get a kickback. Same with jet.com. Go there, and I think they're still having their 15% off of the first 3 purchases that you get through jet.com. Same deal, majorityreportkickback.com. Again, join the majorityreport.com if you want to become a member. See you on Monday or in the fun half.
We're back on the air.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Welcome to the fun
I can
half
hear
of the program.
I can hear the music.
On the Majority Report.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen.
We're back on air, Rain Man.
646-257-3920 is the number. 646-257-3920 is the number. This is interesting as we look to 2020, although that's 4 years away. Who's going to run in 2020? I'm not convinced. Well, there's a lot of people keeping their, let's put it this way. There's a lot of people keeping their options open. And at this was a University of Pennsylvania, what was this? Like just some type of weird forum. For whatever reason, in the middle of this interview, right, with Joe Biden, apparently he gets up. And this is what Joe Biden had to say. Total Bernie bro in it right here, right?
Oh, yeah, complete Bernie. Well, and also I would say incredibly misogynist.
Here we go. Here is Joe Biden. Now, of course, there's a backstory to this, but let's hear what Joe Biden had to say.
This is the first campaign that I can recall where my party did not talk about what it always stood for, and that is how to maintain a burgeoning middle class. You didn't hear a single solitary sentence in the last campaign about that guy working on the assembly line making $60,000 a year and the wife making $32,000 as a hostess in a restaurant, and they making $90,000. They got 2 kids and they can't make it. And they're scared.
I mean, I think, there certainly wasn't the amount of populism in this campaign that, and I think we've said that. It's interesting that Joe Biden is making this point in this forum, walking back and forth. Now, you should also recall that if those Joe Biden wasn't particularly good on things like the bankruptcy bill.
Yeah, I was going to say that Joe Biden.
That family,
yeah.
They could be suffering from a financial calamity, and they'd be in trouble because of Joe Biden, back when he was in the Senate. So, this guy's politics, let me put it this way. His policies, not terribly different from Hillary Clinton's. Maybe
They're
different on
bit
foreign policy.
more progressive in some ways, but he has a longer
His
record.
rhetoric, more so.
No,
he
but
also had
partially
some-
he's had an opportunity to help end apartheid because he's just been in the Senate for decades. So he
Right.
has some more marks, but yeah, I mean overall very similar political profile.
And also big fan of Amtrak, I guess. He's got
Big
that-
fan of Amtrak. Also, definitely, undoubtedly, without any flicker of doubt, would have won and should have run. I mean, just as purely politically, he was an obvious candidate.
Well,
I always
it's not
thought that.
obvious to me at all that he would have won in the primary.
I think he would have won the primary, and I think he would have absolutely won the general. Primary would have been a lot harder. I think the general is a foregone with him in any scenario.
Very unclear to me what would
Also-
have happened in the primary. But yes.
I'd just like to mention that would be an extremely well-paid hostess job.
32 grand. Yeah.
I just did the math, and as I mean, sometimes when politicians talk about money, you're just like, what planet are you living on? You just can't even imagine what the actual numbers look like for people who are even middle class, because you have so much more money than that. But he's close, but he's still overshooting it by a lot, which says a lot. I mean, people, they need to really actually know what people make.
Yeah, I think that's true. Wasn't that thing there was a debate at St. Anselm's College, and maybe I don't know if it was maybe it was in the 2012 cycle, and there was one of the
milk
moderators.
question: how much does a quart of milk cost, or something
No,
like
no.
that? No.
And they said, what if someone was making only a professor's salary? And it was like, wait, a professor's salary is like $120,000 $20,000.
That's
Or
incredible.
something like that. There was some like just way off. This is by one of the moderators or something, and or saying that was middle class.
Senator,
somebody making $120,000
there are plenty of
a
Americans
year.
who are struggling. There are some that are not making $200,000 a year.
Right.
There are some that have very modest second homes. What do you plan to do for them?
It's rather strange.
I read a profile of some, I forget the billionaire, but his example of how he didn't lose touch is he had a friend who was a doctor, and he's like, I mean, they're really, the third house they're trying to buy, they're really having trouble putting the financing together for it. I get it.
I don't understand how it's that difficult to just find out.
They have
how
no
much
empathy
people make.
and no interest, and it doesn't matter to them.
Joe Biden doesn't particularly strike me
Well,
as that, but they're still just so
was talking about
disconnected.
The
I
real
guess.
problem is that they would have to make that much of an effort. In other words, it doesn't come up
For it to give
in
you that
what
much
they
more
do.
credibility,
Right?
I
It
mean,
doesn't. I know.
For you to be able to talk about it whenever.
I
you're-
agree, and particularly if you're going to be Joe Biden, who that's your core brand proposition, right?
Ba-boom.
Like, I am the working guy's buddy, and
You know who I bet could have answered a question like that? Hillary Clinton, who everybody in the world could have won the election, but Hillary Clinton.
Oh my God, yes.
I'm just saying,
Oy.
if you asked her what the incomes for different class
I
levels
don't
were,
know about all that. That's
she's a nerd, dude. That's her core brand proposition that she just tried to hide.
nerds don't know everything. I would. I don't know. I don't think she would know that either.
I'm a little skeptical. There's many politicians, frankly, who
I bet she would have ballparked it like him. I mean, he wasn't like egregiously. He was off, but it wasn't like he said 50,000. But whatever. I mean,
Might have been off by like a third.
Listen,
or more.
Guys. A lot of people are focusing on Donald Trump saying to a room full of women, have you heard about Susan B. Anthony? Now, I've watched that tape, and it appears to me that he's actually joking at that moment. I have no doubt that he hadn't heard of Susan B. Anthony before he was handed that speech. But nevertheless, there's also, I think, some clear evidence that maybe we've got Donald Trump wrong when it comes to his perspective on women. And why do I say that? Well, because of this video that the White House put out.
From the untamed frontiers of the Western Plains to the skyscrapers of Manhattan, American women in every generation have shown extraordinary grit, courage, and devotion. Our present generation stands on the shoulders of these titans, and that's what they were and are, titans. Only by enlisting the full potential of women in our society will we be truly able
Pause it. Now,
to...
can I just tell you that he's talking about the potential and how great women are, and they did this long, lingering crowd shot of all of these women taking pictures of Donald Trump. They say, like, here are women really reaching their potential. As you can see, they're all videotaping me.
I'm not joking, but is he walking in Ivanka or Melania in the first shot?
I think it was Melania, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
I'm not sure either. It doesn't really matter.
Only by enlisting the full potential of women in our society will we be truly able to, you have not heard this expression before, make America great again.
So what's amazing about this video is
everything.
This is supposed to be Donald Trump's tribute to women. And in fact, what it is, it's all about women basically paying tribute to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Look here I am at a speech where we've put out a floral There's flowers.
Why
and
is there that
food.
long shot of the flowers?
There's flowers and food.
It's a fucking
And
lady
then
video.
look.
You have a flower arrangement.
doesn't
What's
make
the
any
matter with
sense.
you? So their grace and their grit and their ability to take iPhone photos of me, they truly will make things great again. And by the way, don't I treasure them? I treasure women, but I also treasure them, but I also cherish them. It's true.
It's supposed to be a tribute. It's
He would,
supposed to
the
be
hand would be much lower if it was Ivanka.
supposed to be. It's supposed to be a tribute to women, and it's just how women are paying tribute to Donald Trump. And there's the flowers, lingering on the flowers. And take a photo of me. This is your chance.
Do we have a sassy Trump that we could follow this up with? I
Oh
really
my
wish
gosh.
we did.
Where was that sassy Trump? That's just amazing. All right, I just want to talk about just for a moment where we are on the Gorsuch battle. At this point, we have two senators, Democratic senators. Remember, Democrats, 48, either Democrat or Democrat caucusing senators, Democratic caucusing senators. And as of now, Heidi Heitkamp and Joe Manchin, both up for re-election in states that went heavily for Donald Trump, have said that they will vote for Neil Gorsuch. And I assume that also means that they will vote for cloture. So Democrats have 6 more senators to lose before they cannot hold the filibuster. And here is Senator Claire McCaskill, also up for re-election in 2018, also in a state that went for Donald Trump, caught on leaked audio, which I imagine was probably leaked by someone who works for Claire McCaskill's cousin or something like that, right? I mean,
the Kansas City Star is saying it was given to them by Missouri Republicans.
Okay. So, I mean, this is one of those things where I'm going to leak my thinking. Now, at the same time, well, let's listen to it.
They go on the Supreme Court, and then, God forbid, Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies. Then, we're not talking about Scalia for Scalia, which is what Gorsuch is. We're talking about Scalia for somebody on the court who shares our values.
Okay, so here's the argument. Well, here's the argument. She's saying, and again, to a certain extent, this is a trial balloon. She's waiting to see what kind of pushback she gets. That's why you leak this audio instead of going on Meet the Press to talk about it. The argument that she's making is this. We should not filibuster because we are, and I'm going to put up all the ifs on my hand, because if we do, if we filibuster, if they pull the nuclear option, which is getting rid of the filibuster, then if Donald Trump has the opportunity, or I should say, if one of 3 people die or leave the court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Breyer, Kennedy, all of whom are potential resignations or leaving the court for some reason, have a high potential, let's say. And if Donald Trump is still in office, then, and if the Democrats, let's say, don't take back the Senate in 2018, right? Then we want to save the filibuster for then and hope that if we do, Mitch McConnell, who has made a vague promise that he won't pull the nuclear option in that time, we can prevent someone from taking a seat on the court that has been more ideologically aligned with the center to the left.
That makes complete sense.
Well, I mean, look, it's an argument, and
It is an argument.
It's an argument. It's not I think it's, 90% total BS rationalization, 10% worth contemplating for about 30 seconds before you dismiss it.
Right.
But she's clearly just looking for cover. But what's interesting is that on the spectrum of people that you would imagine would come out against the filibuster, right? She would be number 3, maybe 4. Like Donnelly.
Donnelly's right up there.
Okay, so let's just say she's number 4. If number 4 has to put out a trial balloon before she does this, even with Manchin and Heitkamp already coming out and saying they're not going to do it, there's every reason to believe that the Democrats are going to be able to hold the filibuster. And so that's good news going forward. And, by all means, if you live in Missouri, or even if you don't, call Claire McCaskill. Tell her if she wants to vote for Gorsuch, do so after she votes against cloture. There you go. All right, let's go to the phones. This person's been holding for a long time. You're calling from a 207 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Colin in Maine. I've been holding for a long time. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling in and having patience, Colin.
Yeah. So I finally got the nerve to call. I've been listening for a couple years. You guys extended me a free membership a few months ago, and just want to let you know I really appreciate that.
Well,
I know it's Friday, but I wanted to take it down a notch and talk about, you kind of mentioned earlier what Trump's doing to the EPA and other federally funded client science programs, the proposed budget cuts. As Michael said, it's just making us poor, sicker, and less educated. So they're going to cut 17% from NOAA. That's NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Association, something along those lines. They do more than just put on that annoying weather broadcast when there's a storm out. They launch satellites. They do a whole bunch of research, and they only get I have some numbers here. They get $5.6 billion of the federal government's $1.2 trillion discretionary budget.
It's a drop in the bucket in terms of our budget, but it's a lot in terms of what they have to work with.
It's a lot. And, I was looking at some of these numbers they have. They released a report in November of 2016, just last year, and they're saying the global sea level could rise 6.5 feet. Could get 6.5 feet. And they were saying that Florida is going to be the most vulnerable in the United States, along with Louisiana, New York. But 75% of Florida's GDP comes from commerce and people living on the coast. And all of those people would have to be relocated. And it's nuts. And I know I'm running out of time here, but, FEMA has been running a program, I think it started in the 1980s, called the Managed Retreat. And they're working on preemptive relocation. But as of right now, unfortunately, relocation only happens after extreme weather events.
There's something going on in I think it's is it North Carolina? There's there's some, I think it's the Outer Banks of North Carolina or South Carolina where they're having to do that now. And Miami has a particular problem because it's basically on top of limestone. And so the flooding is not just happening from the shore. It's actually bubbling up from underneath. And so there's no way. I mean, I think we had the reporter who wrote that piece in Rolling Stone. Maybe this is going back now 3 or 4 years. But he had spoken to, he did an in-depth reporting that was basically, I think the name of the piece was something like Goodbye Miami. And they brought in the Dutch specialists, obviously, who deal with, huge land masses that are basically under sea level. And they're like, oh, yeah, there's nothing we can do about this because Miami is basically built on a stable sponge. And it's just, we don't know how to deal with that. We just know how to keep water coming from one direction, not from every direction. And
right. Well, Miami has spent almost $500 million, $400 million on infrastructure, dams, floodgates, drains, stuff like that, to slow down erosion and rising sea levels, and that slow down the damage that big old sponge is going to do to them. But other poorer communities, like in Louisiana, they can't get $400 million. That was a local tax, not a federal tax, that they got to spend on infrastructure specifically for preventing damage from climate change. So, it just another example of the short-sighted greed of this administration. And you said it's a drop in the bucket, but it's a damn important one.
Yeah, indeed. I appreciate the call, Colin. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, right on. You guys have a great weekend.
Okay, you too.
Take care.
Calling from a 718 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
What's going on, Sam? It's Greg.
Greg! How are you, Greg?
Very well.
What's happening?
Good. I hear you actually these days. It almost makes me doubt my phone is truly a libertarian phone.
Well, we'll see.
I might have to change it. Yeah. Listen, I kind of want to. Is this a good time to call in and
this is our call-in
sort of lay
time.
out my libertarian?
It's never a good time
lay
for
out
that.
my libertarian position.
Well, I think
Never.
let's try and do something that's a little bit more applicable to the thousands of other people
Can
who
I
may
just
not
say,
be
you know what I appreciate?
fully focused
You know what I
on
appreciate about
your libertarian ideology is.
You know what I appreciate about Greg's calls
Fine.
is like there was this old, and this was another Jerky Boys reference, but there was this Jerky Boys prank where I forget, I know it was a long time ago, but I think what they did is they put classified ads in the paper, so people were actually calling them, which really messed with people because there's not even a context to get you're getting pranked. And one of the ones was that they were looking for contestants on Jeopardy. And of course, they got people who probably would not do well on Jeopardy. But the way he'd test them is he'd be like, all right, fucking trivia and begin. And he'd ring a bell. And he's just like, a tree falls in the Palisades Parkway. How many cars are dispatched to pick up that fucking tree? You got to have answers like that. Or Mr. Trebek is going to get off mic and he's going to punch your fucking jaw loose. So I like when Greg calls up and he just is like, he doesn't say, because sometimes he'll say like, here's the libertarian strategy for computer education. But other times he's just like, life philosophy and begin.
All right, so let's do something specific, Greg, because I don't want to spend 45 minutes on it.
Yeah, look, okay. I am for a single payer. I think, like Bernie, Obamacare, all this stuff is a Frankenstein. And I agree with you that single payer prevents buyers from competing, which is, buyers compete on only one thing, price. It's a rare buyer that offers piano lessons to their doctor's daughter,
Right.
So, yeah, that's why prices go up is because buyers compete. And, yeah, I am for the basics all being single payer. Now, having said that, the reason I always say I'm libertarian is because relative to you, I am completely libertarian. I want to reduce government to one thing only, not the army, 800 bases around the world and all this crap. I just want basic government to be single payer systems for everything and vouchers. I want people to have a choice to what school they want to go to, public school, public money. And if you want something on top of that, you're welcome to pay. But everything should be just single payer systems, simple rules, vouchers, and eliminate all the other
Would
crap,
you do vouchers
including
for
the pork barrel
health care?
stuff.
Would you do vouchers for health care?
I would do.
Yeah,
That's
but
Obamacare.
Greg, you realize that when you do vouchers for health care, people can opt out of the insurance, that it then begins to undercut the very program that you're talking about.
When you say opt out of insurance, if you have a single payer system, there's only one insurance or a public option. There's no private insurance that could compete with that.
Okay, so you wouldn't have vouchers for insurance for health insurance.
I would have. I'm telling you, it's like everything is single payer with vouchers, public school, and healthcare. Like you have.
It's
you
like
can choose the doctor you
monogamy
go to.
with
That's
non-monogamy. I get it.
So wait a second. What does that mean, single payer with vouchers? So some people can either opt for health care or they can take their money and go buy private insurance or other or what? I don't understand.
Oh, I see. The way you're using the word vouchers. Okay. When I say vouchers, I just mean consumer choice, meaning I choose what doctor to go to. The government doesn't tell me this is your doctor. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the government never
so
does
the doctors
that.
compete.
Okay.
Well,
and then
with
so,
schools
but
they do. With public schools they do.
so
with
so
other things
so
they
you
do.
want people to be able to take. You want rich people to be able to take money out of the public school system to subsidize their private schools.
No, it would all be the public school system, meaning primary education would be paid by the government, and people would be able to take their child out of a failing school. Yes, every school should have to face market discipline and become better. They can't just sit there and say, oh, because you live in my neighborhood, so we don't have to compete. We're just going to stay crappy all the time.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't think that's how people do it. But I mean, so then what would you do? The school would then lose funding? Who would pay for the buses? How would you plan that year to year?
Every school would compete with other schools. They would basically be provided like they are now. Many of the services are provided by private, the catering, the lunch. What I'm saying is the government would pay for that. And yeah, these schools would be on an equal footing with any other school. You could open a new school if you see there's a need. If the schools suck in the neighborhood, you want to offer a better school, go right ahead. You have to meet all the regulations. You have to take some kids and disability, everything. But after that, you should be able to compete and destroy the failing school if it doesn't get its act together. And I think that's a good thing.
So okay, so these are not public schools. These are private schools. So you're saying everything should be a charter.
Well, we had this before. Charter is similar, but I don't want it to be funded like we're just going to give you tax breaks. I just want it to be single payer, and the consumer, the parent, decides, okay, I think this school sucks. I don't want to be forced to send my kid to the school, which is a big problem for a lot of inner city schools. And one thing I just want to mention, New York State, you talked about property taxes, fixing it that way. I remember like a year ago. I looked this up, and I did research on this. New York State publishes publicly. They spend 3 times more on failing school districts than they do the other ones. 3 times more. Doesn't help. Those things are still failing because there's no market discipline. People still have to go to that school. So there's no incentive really for the school.
No, I mean, I don't think that's the idea that there's market discipline. First of all, I mean, starting another, so you're suggesting that, okay, I live in a neighborhood or I live in a town, okay? I live in a town of 15,000 people, okay? And we have, our school district may include 30,000 people. I don't know. And so you're saying that someone's going to open up another school and they're going to get funding on a per student basis from the government that will come out of the other school that exists, the one that already exists, the public school. This is going to be a privately run school. They're going to get these funds of the children who come there. I mean, this is the charter model. And I think there's some value to charters if there is, the same regulations that are on the public schools. But I just don't think that, so how are people going to make a profit on these schools?
Well, obviously, if they can't make a profit on these schools, they wouldn't open them. So you don't have to worry about why they're opening them. That's on them. If you think you can make a profit, you get investors, that's your thing. That's your risk. That's fine. But the schools get better because they face market discipline. This public school sees, these guys are using
Now,
iPads.
why hasn't that
We're
worked
still
with
stuck
charters, broadly speaking, the charters that we do have that exist now? Why hasn't that happened? Because we know, right? We have the data that shows that there are some charter schools that are better, but in the aggregate, charters do no better than public schools, and in some instances, worse. So why is that the case if there's market discipline?
So my answer, right. That's, I think, a very good question. And I think the reason is everything is so complicated. It's a Frankenstein. These schools that do better, there's a reason they do better. Now, some schools do better because the kids, let's say, are smart and whatever. Maybe their parents are, those Asian tiger mom kids. I'm sorry if you think that's racist.
Yes.
I just think, or an immigrant kid, and they really have a culture of education, and they really that's fine. But some schools actually have a better approach, and I think that better approach should be copied. The reason that charter schools across the board don't do better is the same reason Obamacare doesn't do better, because it's such a Frankenstein, so many different things.
But you're suggesting the exact same thing. How is the charters that you're talking about different from the charters that exist, Greg?
Simple. I want to simplify government to one thing. Like Bernie,
You just said two things. One is we're going to have public schools, and then we're also going to have vouchers, or not vouchers. We're going to allow money to travel with the child. Yeah, but Greg, it's the same thing that we have now is what you're talking about. That's all you're saying exactly what we have now.
If you're saying we have that now, then how come you have all these public schools and the people are forced to send their kids to these public schools? If we have that now, why?
Well, I can tell you in New York City, you can apply to go to charter schools.
If there's one in your region, if there's one in your neighborhood.
Well, I can tell you in New York City, they're all over the place.
Right. So logically, if the private school does worse, there's no harm. No one goes to it.
But what do you mean no one goes to it? What do you mean no one goes to it? We have charters that exist in this country that underperform public schools. So what you're saying is demonstrably not correct, Greg.
I'm not saying all of them will be better than public. I'm saying the consumers in each region.
Why
can
don't
have
you
a
hear
choice.
what I'm
Look,
saying?
I'm
telling you, we have that system now, and it doesn't work the way that you think it's going to work. And you can look at the evidence.
I think what you think, how I think it's going to work is wrong. What I'm basically saying is very simple.
We just can't.
I'm a libertarian, except in one thing. I tell libertarians, listen, government does.
Do you
better
realize
than the
that
market
we
in
just
one area.
can't communicate with each other? We try, but we talk past each other all the time.
Okay, I'm calling with libertarian perspective.
Maybe.
What? All right, 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
All right. I'm basically saying that libertarians have one thing wrong. They think the market, double-sided market is better for everything. No. A single-payer system where buyers don't compete for the basics is better at lowering prices. Everything else, though, they're right about. You should let schools compete. You should let doctors compete. You should let the sellers.
That was really actually closer to 20.
If I could make my point, if I could get to my point for the third point. But anyways, I have a libertarian perspective.
We just keep going around and around. He wants to have charter schools that people can set up that presumably the government would pay for. And
what I would have is a universal system with a magic system, okay? And this is how it would work. There would be the magic system where you would get your things from the magic unicorn, but then everything else would be like Bernie Sanders, universal health care, everything. But then there would be a wish dispensing tree, which could have been developed in Singapore if there was not for government regulation. You could look this up. I saw
enjoy
this
talking to Greg, but sometimes I got to admit, at one point it gets a little frustrating.
I really hope that Greg is a performance artist who has just been deployed to try to give not only you, but like a lot of people involved in the show an aneurysm. Yeah.
Calling from a 218 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Sam, can you hear me?
Yes. Who is this?
This is John Porter from Park Rapids, Minnesota.
John, what's on your mind?
Well, I'm just wondering, one, it was my birthday a while ago, and I'm wondering if Michael can do a Walter Block Dr. G impression. And wish me a happy birthday.
Well, I could tell you happy birthday, but there will be no mashup that involves me and a Jew.
Hey, shut up.
Hey, shut up. Dr. Gorka, you bastard. What was that? What was that?
But I
Tough
was-
coconut, Chief Wigwam. You didn't have proper property rights. That's not on me. Now, the slaves, we can throw them a couple of shekels. But the rest of you got burned in irons, and that's how history was, starting from starting now. Now, some libertarians would say age of consent is 2. Others would say they're very moderate. Age of consent is 15. I say, I don't know, Sam, 11 or 12. Who knows? I would say if you're ready for the
your
mitzvah,
court argue with my
let
court.
your court argue with my court. I say if there's grass on the field, let's play.
But on a serious note, I was wondering, like if Michael Flynn seeks immunity, can he can the investigation, like the House or the Senate, say, yeah, you can have the immunity on that, but with your foreign ties, we can arrest you, kind of thing?
Well,
Or
they could do limited immunity on specific things, but that's not the deal. I mean, look, this is what I think is going on with Flynn. And as much as people are sort of very hopeful about it, I think this is a guy who knows that he's got criminal liability, and I think they come out, they announce it publicly because they know if they went privately to the FBI would say no. They want public opinion to force one of either the House or the Senate to give him some type of immunity. This is what happened with Ollie North, and why Ollie North never went to prison. And I think the hope is they can get Nunes maybe, but to say yes. But I have a feeling even the House Intel Committee is going to say no. The Senate already has. I think this is a nothing burger, to be honest with you, but I hope I'm wrong. But I think that's what's going to happen. So people should not be getting their hopes up too high. But appreciate the call.
Well, I just want to say one thing. I appreciate all you guys do, and I listen to you every day, so thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
I have friends from Park Rapids, Minnesota.
Bum, bum, bum.
I'd be like, hi,
I
this
thought that might have been one of them doing a prank, but it wasn't.
Calling from a 510 area code.
Hey, jerky.
Call him from a 510 area code. Who's this?
This is Bill from Chappaqua. When I called in, the disembodied voice told me that the host would be with me shortly, and based on that, I think we need to have a discussion of what the definition of shortly is. But the real reason I called is that I want to tell you that I know why Hillary lost.
Okay.
Chris Hayes and his Ivy League comrades like that bitch Susan Sarandon. Chris and I, we used to smoke dope together in the 70s. We had a show together. It was called Two Dope Boys and a Public Access Channel. Chris used to smoke a bowl before each broadcast. The dope helped slow his speech pattern so he wouldn't stumble over his words so much. He shouldn't have stopped doing that, as I think it would really help on his MSNBC gig. Anyway, Chris and I had a falling out after he found out I didn't inhale, and he's been out to get Hillary and me ever since. For example, he didn't invite us to his wedding. However, in the final analysis, I think that Hillary's loss is probably good for the left, and Jill Stein, 2020.
Thank you for the call. Wow, that was like
the best call ever.
Discombobulated, like every.
That was that they managed to. That was every single Majority Report. This is becoming like a Borges short story. The amount of internal self-referencing.
Exactly. An Escher.
Like a show
drawing.
Bible.
Right.
Like.
Exactly. Today's show will come with a 45-minute long verbal glossary.
This goes back to a moment in 2008.
Now is time for your 2-sync audio stream.
This refers to a time that we pretended that Henry Kissinger was a progressive bisexual preschool teacher with regards to a health care plan that was currently proposed in the House of Representatives.
Ongoing director's commentary, audio commentary. Jeez. All right. One last thing that wraps up this week. Donald Trump, look, you can't take his tweets very seriously. It's just interesting that at one point in the course of his day, it occurred to him, hey, maybe I can shake the Freedom Caucus. Now, he's blaming the Freedom Caucus for not signing on to the healthcare legislation that Paul Ryan was pushing. And you could think that maybe his strategy is to make common cause with Democrats, but he can't do anything without the Freedom Caucus. There's too many of them. And maybe he thinks he can intimidate them, but they clearly have already said, dude, we're not intimidated by you. So it makes this extra lame. But what I enjoyed was watching Sean Hannity stuck in the middle of this love triangle. Very difficult. And he's going to have to do some bullet points here because he's treading so lightly. Here's Sean Hannity responding to the president's tweet.
And now, after the Republican health care plan did stall in the House with infighting in the Republican Party, there is a danger that could undermine the president's agenda. Now, earlier today, the president tweeted, quote, "The Freedom Caucus will hurt the entire Republican agenda if they don't get on the team and fast. We must fight them and Dems in 2018. Now, the president's clearly frustrated with this division in the Republican Party. On the show, we promised we're holding everyone in Washington accountable. For 7 long years, the GOP ran on replacing Obamacare. They said, give us the House. They got that in 2010. Give us the House and Senate. They got it in 2014. Give us the House, Senate, and the presidency. They got that on November 8th. They got their wish. Now, in my opinion, it's not the Freedom Caucus that's responsible for the GOP failure, in this case, to repeal and replace Obamacare. Now, this legislation was flawed from the beginning. It was created behind closed doors. Not one single member saw the bill until it was rolled out.
Pause it for 1 second. I want you to notice something. Just scroll it back a little bit, right? Everything immediately turns into the passive voice. He says, the Freedom Caucus is not responsible. This is a real profile in cowardice. The Freedom Caucus is not responsible for the failure of this bill. And then everything about the bill is in the passive voice. The bill was created in the dark. It was a flawed bill, as if like this bill just sort of parachuted into the House by itself. Continue.
Now, this legislation was flawed from the beginning. It was created behind closed doors. Not one single member saw the bill until it was rolled out, and that made it a disaster. Now, I don't know who's telling the White House to focus their anger on the Freedom Caucus, but I do think it's misplaced. Because the Freedom Caucus, I've talked to them, they want to make a deal, and they want the win for the president and the country.
Where should we place it? Oh, where should we place it?
Obama.
Yeah, of course.
None of this would have happened if he didn't do anything.
Obama was hacking the process of writing the bill.
The derp state is is doing this.
It's alive and well. What did you say before, Matt? You missed your line.
Oh, it's just Sean's mommy and daddy are fighting.
CPW, you guys got to find a way to get more people like Mr. Cultural Appropriation to call into the show in the Trump era. Historically, that's my favorite and best part of MR. You handling these morons their ass and then politely asking them to call back anytime. It's been practically non-existent since the first week of November 2016 for understandable reasons. The last 10 minutes of the Wednesday episode might be the most exhilarating the show has been in a while. Thanks.
Sam agrees.
Yeah, I did enjoy that.
Sam has a
Cheese.
very deep affection for arguing with idiots.
Run for president on a platform of racial hatred and misogyny, and once you go golfing every weekend like nothing ever happened. Alfred E. Newman. Sam Ceder's Passovers fall on April 10th, 2017. Why does it last until April 18th? Pass me over for a freaking week, Newman. E. Greg. Okay. I have predicted since November that Trump will lose the support of the GOP over 2 issues, Russia and pushing them to repeal Obamacare. Both will lead to blow-ups. He may be impeached. I mean, the Obamacare thing already happened, Greg. The prediction is a little bit late. The ironic thing is after the destructive war crimes of the Bush and Obama administrations, Trump could be the first president charged with high crimes merely because of his incompetence. What happens in that case to a sitting president? I don't know. Well, I mean, it's really just about impeachment. Nick from Manitoba. Sam, keep what you're doing and may your pajamas be made of the softest pink beta fabrics. Since we're talking music, iTunes, and Shuffle, I was wondering, and this is a question for the whole MR team, how and if music has intersected with informed your politics in any meaningful way. I can imagine young Sam listening to his punk rock with bricks stowed away in his cargo shorts, ready to smash some windows, anarchy in the at the Gap, man. Oh, and I noticed you brought back Dana's La Poupée yesterday, made an edit of that song just for you, and the cello outro goes on for days. Want me to mail it? Stay sweet, MR Beauties. Yeah, I would like that. Music hasn't really terribly informed my politics. I mean,
I feel like culture in general made me more progressive than I would have been growing up in North Dakota.
I think music has propelled my interest in some very specific things, like Jamaican politics.
Kelly's not interested in that question. Robusto is the other type of bean.
The same as Matt. I mean, it makes you more progressive, I guess. And I guess to go back to the song I played earlier, I was really into Nirvana, back when I was like 10, I guess it was. And, Kurt Cobain was dressing up in dresses and wearing makeup and bringing up gender issues that really weren't, cool at the time, and gave me something to think about that otherwise would not have been available to me, I don't think.
Robusto is the other type of bean with more caffeine, but if you're selling sativa coffee, I'll take 25 pounds. Binder Dad, happy 13th anniversary. Thanks for the crew for all you do. See you next Saturday. Binder's son is tagging along. Yeah. Freedom Cuckus. Sam, you said yesterday a blazer would chafe your neck. You know how to prevent that, right? Instead of a T-shirt, wear a turtleneck. Maybe a turtleneck plus a blue blazer. Maybe throw in some gold chains or grow a mustache, and you're well on your way to 200,000 subscribers.
Get into Gorka territory with the turtleneck and blazer.
Edgewater. Lately, I've been drinking my Majority Report blend from my WTF I Just Shit My Pants coffee mug just for the extra jolt of disharmony it creates. Works like a charm. On those mornings, I both hate myself and choose the sweater vest to wear. You will have the meatloaf. Michigan Senator Pat Colbeck introduced a bill that would allow ministers to excommunicate someone for not voting the way they suggest. Mailman, this reefer cake cat needs to take a little hiatus. Maybe a trip to somewhere is in order.
I agree.
MR, happy anniversary. Proud to say I've been listening since the original show started this week. More confirmation this administration will be incompetence and graft at unseen levels. I still think there was some coordination, quid pro quo with the Russia government. But yes, it's all about the money, oil, realignment of powers. I'm encouraged by Dem arguments and postures last week's, but sure there will be disappointments indeed. Sorry, stream of thoughts. I am in a while. Freedom for Palestine. During Tulsi Gabbard's trip to Syria, she was escorted there by Lebanon by the Syrian Social Nationalist Party, a fascist neo-Nazi type organization, which uses a reverse swastika flag. They had a militia camp near my apartment in Beirut. Effing assholes. Interesting.
Yeah.
Dick Dastardly. Matt is right about music and memory, like how every time I hear a Jimmy Reefer Cake song, I remember why I hate this show. Also, your guest Maggie sounded suspiciously similar to Comrade Kelly. Nice try, Sam. Your little Jew lady tricks might work on soft crowds like The View, but not here for you, you cuck. Mike in Pennsylvania. Funniest show this year. David and Maggie need to come on the show more often. Live in a lemon world. Russia made Twitter bots specifically designed to say fake news to Trump, knowing he's dumb enough to fall for it. Yeah, I'm suspicious about a lot of that stuff, but maybe. Colin Doucette, Rand Paul. I mean, why not, right? I mean, we actually talked about doing that, and I suppose if we had $100,000 to do it, we would have done it. Rand Paul, I mean, liberals have thought experiments too without the empirical evidence too. They say Jews can be clever as well as being a good person. I live in Lafayette, Louisiana. I think by 2045, the new coastline is going to be New Iberia, which is like 20 miles away. Bull Prague. What's with the latest anarchist craze? I've seen anarcho-capitalists, anarcho-libertarians, and anarcho-socialists lately. Words still have meaning, right? I got that, yes. Here's that Trump supporter saying he likes Jimmy Dore at 8:50. I heard that. Sampras. While it may be true that individuals in the Trump team may have thought they were only dealing with dirty Russian businesses, those dirty Russian businesses and Russian government are one and the same indeed. Have you seen the pic going around with Flynn having dinner with Putin? Did you notice Jill Stein is in that pic? Yes, I did. R.J. Larkin, Robin Reno. If Russian mobsters had anything damaging on Trump, it would never be videos of hookers pissing on furniture. It's probably more like they have his Hulu account, and then they always watching Felicity after she cut her hair. Dear Jimmy, R.L. Garner, catchy song, but marijuana is a Schedule I drug in the Controlled Substances Act. takes Congress to change that, hombre. Obama's EO would have been worthless. Can't take creative license with civics, brah. He could have basically said to federal agents, like, lay off. But you're right about the Schedule 1, Schedule 2. Christo, wasn't the invasion of Grenada also mostly a face-saving effort for the Reagan administration after the embarrassing withdrawal of U.S. troops from Lebanon as a result? Yes, indeed. Trent Dirks, Flynn is going to do a George Costanza about the Turkey connection. Should I not have done that? Was that wrong? Because if anybody has said that kind of thing was frowned upon. CEO Lauren, hey, after the anniversary of Air America and a-holes like Mark Green, where are the F are Ken and Kenny? I don't know what you mean. Maui Vegan, Joe Biden founded the DLC. Is that right? Bill Clinton was its chair. Sam, if you were thinking of going on a diet, you can eat only one food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what would it be? Eggs.
Eggs. They're so good. Hello?
Also, back when I was 21, I dropped 25 Lotus blotter acid and had the most extraordinary trip. At one point, crawling around on my hands and knees, weeping with joy. It was a very positive experience. I thought I had found a formula to rule the world. Maybe this explains Trump. Neff Art. The comments on the Jimmy Dore clip had a lot of upset Dore fans. I tend to side with you guys about reactionary left strategies like Bernie or bust or Trump being better than Hillary. But I hope everyone can come together in the end to build up local politics and do something pragmatic to fight Trump and strengthen our left institutions. I mean, look, if you get upset at Keith Ellison for telling progressives who supported him to buck up and keep fighting instead of getting turned off, I mean, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I mean, when do the Keith Ellison has Parkinson's videos come out? I agree with you. Calling from an 818 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Pete Perlman. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing good. You got to be quick.
Good. Rush Limbaugh's gotten kind of more irrelevant as time has gone by. So I'm thinking of that maybe you should update or replace Random Rush with Random Russia and have 60 seconds of RT and then comment for 90 seconds by playing a random RT thing or something.
Interesting concept. Maybe we'll do it. I don't know. But I appreciate the call. I mean, I don't know if there is opinion. To be honest with you, I never watched.
Don't have quite the reach as Rush anyway.
Well, but the point that Rush has become less relevant is I think a good one, because to a certain extent, like, you've got just a dumber, more popular version of Rush in the White House. I mean, that's the problem. He got Bigfooted. Calling from an 808 area code. Who's this?
Hey, Sam. This is James from Riverside. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's up, James? Got to be quick.
All right. I was just going to tell that guy who called about NOAA that there's a lot of different projects that you could throw in to kind of handle the water rising, which is odd. There's this thing called a DRHS, Subterranean Irrigation System. It was developed mostly by the British, but it has like special pipes where you can use salt water, brackish water, all types of different water, and basically grow plants with it. And I did some calculations. There's 830 square miles of coastline here in California, and all of our crops and agriculture is grown in the valley. So you have to pump the water anyway, and the system requires gravity to work. You could potentially use seawater to grow $5 billion in California agriculture because we have salt-tolerant crops like almonds, which take a lot of water, tomatoes, lettuce, etc. And you could probably do the same thing for, like Arizona, New Mexico, et cetera, and by offshooting that water or creating those barriers and then just piping it to the desert areas, you could probably handle a lot more of the sea level rising and grow more crops without using aquifer water, which is why we're in a drought in the first place. So just wanted to throw that out there.
You call your local state senator. I mean, I have a feeling.
I've sent multiple letters to Sacramento that I never hear anything back. My buddy's an environmental scientist, and he says that Americans don't like to do anything until shit hits the fan, basically. So until there's an oil spill in the Gulf or, California gets split along the San Andreas Fault, we won't really be thinking about it. But, proactive over, it's just like those Paris climate agreements where they're like, oh, you only changed the weather by like 2 degrees or something like that. And it's just like, well, if you're wrong and, you claim that, climate change isn't real, then we're all going to be either underwater or a fucking crisp. So how about we just be a little bit proactive, much like the health of a human being, so we don't prevent major diseases later on.
Appreciate the call. I mean, let's face it, the talk about not being proactive, a lot of people got a lot more interested in politics after Donald Trump was president, which was about a couple of days too late. You calling from a 626 area code. Who's this?
Yeah, this is Will out in Ma Puente, California.
Hey, Will, what's on your mind? We got to be
Hello?
quick. Yep. Hey, Will.
All right. Yeah, I want to touch on the NOAA thing as well. You see, the whole thing is we should be pulling people away from the coastlines because of possible sea level rise. And then on top of that, we should be dismantling infrastructure located on the coast. That way we don't have to try to salvage it if the water goes up. People tell me I'm crazy, but I tell them, hey, if we do that, it's a lot better. And even if it doesn't go up, we can still go and rebuild in those areas. On top of that, they need to explain to people, especially in cold country, that, with wind and solar and wave generated power, those are the industries that we can filter them into for careers and jobs. It's the same way. I have a background in marine biology and habitat restoration, and we do stuff along the California coast to map MPAs so we can find better places to try to have wave generated energy. They're still working on that.
But there's
now,
there's nobody in
MPAs.
West Virginia who's going to be able to do work on that stuff. I mean, there's nobody.
Yeah, but the thing is you can transition them into wind, say like the Midwest. We have tornadoes and stuff like that, and also we have hurricanes that come in. Wind generated energy as well as wave generated energy in the Gulf of Mexico, because hell, there's a dead zone once you go down so many feet in the Gulf of Mexico. So it's not like we would be damaging too much habitat that's adequately used, because it's really bad down there. On top of that, on the California coast and in the West where people are working in fracking, we can have them transition into solar as well as wave generated technology. And that would help our infrastructure. Now, as we pull people back from the coastlines, we can now dismantle, think about it. Think of all the concrete, all the glass, all the metal that we could recycle.
It makes, it makes sense, but I got to jump. But we will, if you have any good guest suggestions on something like this, send us an email at majorityreporters@gmail.com.
Okay.
Thanks for the call. All right, last call of the day. Calling from a 785 area code. Who's this?
Yeah, this is John Connor from Los Angeles, California.
What's on your mind, John?
I wanted to make a comment about the charter schools. The reason that charter schools are failures is actually because the same reason why urban public schools are big failures. It's entirely comprised of low IQ, city-dwelling minorities. It's common knowledge that blacks score lower on standardized testing. Rich blacks actually score on the same level as poor whites. And I know this is triggering to liberal progressives because, kumbaya, we are all one. But there are huge differences in race, and that's why you see urban cities with such horrible scores. And that's why you see such differences in performance by races.
Right. So you're saying poor whites in Appalachia, they do very well in school.
They do on the same level as rich blacks.
Really? Where are you getting your data from?
Really? This is common knowledge, Sam.
Come on, where do you get it from?
Really? I mean, come on. You're a white person. You should know better. We're going to need citations.
Why do you assume that I'm white? Why are you assuming my race?
Because you're racist.
Well, maybe.
And that's the basis
what's
of
your
your
race?
common knowledge.
What's your race?
Why does my race matter? Why are you deflecting the argument?
Well, because I want to know if I'm talking to a smart person or not.
Why does it matter?
You just told me that race. Wait a second. Excuse me. Did you or did you not just say that there is an IQ difference between races?
I definitely said that.
Okay. So I'm asking you, I want to know if I'm talking to an idiot or a smart person So I need to know your race.
What does my race have to do with me being an idiot or a smart person?
You just told me it was predictive of intelligence. So what is it? What's your race?
On average.
What is your race?
It doesn't matter what my race is, Sam.
What are you talking about? You just told me that race was determinant about intelligence.
What does my intelligence matter? What if, okay, let's say
Well, I don't know if I want to talk to an idiot. I don't know if I want to talk to a total moron. So I just want to know what your race is.
I'm white, Sam.
What?
Whoa! Got me. You got me. You got me. Gotcha, Boomer.
Okay, so listen, you're really
Boomer.
super smart. Tell me where the citation of where you get your facts from.
You want me to just list out every one of them and every different
just,
source that I have?
Couple.
How much time do we have here?
I mean, enough for you to cite at least a couple of places.
Are you going to turn the music off? Or are you just going to make a mockery of this because you have no real argument?
Mockery.
This is what liberals often do.
Go mockery.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. What's the citation?
I'm not going to, play your game with this. And if you want to actually have a real debate, then we can have a real debate. But if you're just going to play ridiculous
I
music
just turned off
try
the
to
music
deflect,
and asked for
then-
the citation of your facts you've just presented.
You're really hurting me as a white person with how dumb you're being. Okay,
This is like
I
the
was
most
getting
cuckish
into
racist
the
that I've
higher.
ever heard
Yeah,
of in
what's
my
come
life.
on? This is where was the Abbott and Costello.
And he had the little prepared little statement.
Come
I
on.
wanna really
So wait a
trigger
second.
you.
Hold on. Now listen. I don't mean to trigger you because you're obviously getting upset about this. So I want you to just take a deep breath and just tell me, give me a couple of citations about the facts. Quick. You got to be near a computer, right?
Why would I be near a computer right now?
White
You think
people
that I
have
all of these
white
facts, like,
white
stuff in my
people.
back
Wait a
pocket?
second.
Wait,
wait a
white
second.
people
Hold on,
have
hold on,
computers.
hold on,
It's common
hold on.
knowledge.
You call up with an assertion, and I'm asking you just to give me some citations of your facts. And you're going through all this rigmarole. You want me to turn off the music. You don't want me to make a mockery of it. Okay, sir. Let's hear the facts. Where did you get these facts from?
There have been lots of research done on this. It's not going to be, from Harvard University. There's been lots of
Phrenology Today.
universities that people have done theses on the subject, and there is research that
There's
shows
people
that
who've
this
been
is
doing
true.
thesis. So you're telling me that I ask you for a citation of the facts that you're stating, and you tell me there are people who have done theses. Oh,
In
theses.
various research in universities, yes.
Oh, in universities, really? Would you
Yeah,
say
really.
these are prestigious universities? I mean, you should say
What would a
people have
prestigious
done
university in your opinion?
very prestigious
A liberal
people have
arts
done
college?
very
Is
prestigious.
a
Don't
liberal
hey,
arts
listen.
college
Don't
prestigious?
get so triggered by me asking you to back up your facts. Just calm down. All right. I know you're nervous. You're a little bit upset. You're riled up now. Just calm down.
Are there black people near you right now?
Are you in a safe area?
Are you in a safe space?
Are you in a safe space?
Again, you're just making a mockery of this again.
Yes,
because
Well, I
absolutely
mean, honestly,
know
listen,
black
if
people,
you're
on
going to
average,
call
are
in
far less
and you're
intelligent
going to
than
make an
Asian
assertion
counterparts
like that,
and white counterparts.
like anybody, I ask for the facts. Because you tell me it's common knowledge, and frankly, I think, at this point in my life, I have a good sense of what's common knowledge. I'm not aware of that. And now I'm aware
Are you
that
aware
I'm
of
sure
university theses, Sam?
I've just heard about
All the
these things.
university theses.
But
Okay,
my point
so-
is, you should say prestigious university theses.
Have you read the bell curve before?
There it is.
Of course, Charles
Finally,
Murray.
the dumb fuck with this one
Yes.
citation.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yes.
Have you read it or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All of us in this room
Okay,
have read
so
the bell curve.
So if you've read it, what does it say? What was the research that was done?
It's highly discredited.
Like very much so.
In fact, I think if I was actually to Google the bell curve, it would be about how it's full of shit. Let's see. The
Yeah,
bell.
you know who says that? The American Psychological Association. And who runs the American Psychological Association?
Not just the
Black
American
people!
Psychological
The
Association.
Jews.
Oh, the Jews, right? Of course.
Yeah, it's a bunch of crypto Jews. A bunch of crypto Jews, just like you, Sam.
Crypto Jews?
I don't think there's anything crypto
hold on.
about
Well, I was
Sam's
gonna say, wait a
Judaism.
second. What do you mean, crypto? What's the crypto thing? Are you Jewish, sir?
You try to hide it.
Dude, you are bringing down the white race IQ every second
Wait
you
a
speak.
second.
This
Yeah,
is
Spencer's
becoming
got a car
embarrassing
guy
even
off
to
the-
me.
You're
Yeah, Richard
saying
Spencer
that-
needs to silence you. You're a moron.
You're saying that I'm trying to hide my Judaism. On the very show
Definitely.
that I have mentioned my celebrating Passover probably 3 times.
He talks about being Jewish
on the
literally,
very
like,
show
50
where there
times
is
a
a
day.
camera that shows his face. You're saying he's hiding his Judaism.
Hold on. Wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say it again. I'm sorry, people.
You're a cultural Jew. That's why it doesn't count.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Wait a second. What do you mean? I just told you I'm celebrating Passover. It's a holiday. I say the prayer.
Common knowledge.
Hey, can I ask you a
I
question?
take off all the high holiday Jewish religions on this show.
Caller, what does it feel to be a victim of white genocide?
Are you a virgin?
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you a question. Does your
Are we supposed to be like
excuse me,
funny jokes or something? I don't
hold on,
understand.
wait a second.
Yes.
Hold on, let me ask you a question. What do your theses say about Jews and their IQs?
Ooh.
No, wait, I'm just curious.
Yeah, what about it?
Well, I'm asking, what do they say?
Jews have high IQs on average.
Do you think that I have a higher IQ than you?
Good day, sir.
No. Go back to our conversation yesterday when you said that you would punch me in the face. I think that I would definitely beat the shit out of you.
Well, no, wait a second.
Sounds
now,
like
wait
it.
a second. Now, wait a second.
Would you like to work in Angola?
That was a thought experiment. It was not, I said I would punch you in the face. I was saying, what would be the difference if I punched you in the face versus if you punched me in the face? And at the time,
The difference would be is that you would basically slap me, and it would be a lot different if I punched you in the face.
okay, and why would that be?
Remember we were talking about like power dynamics?
Yes.
Remember that?
I do, yes.
Right. There we go.
What do you mean, there you go? You got to finish the
He'll
sentence.
kick your ass.
He's saying he could beat you up,
He's saying
Sam.
he
This
beat
is
you
like-
up. It's
this
common
is-
knowledge.
Let me ask you a
There's
question.
been theses written at
Let me ask you a question.
university.
Let me ask you a question. Are you watching on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, look at me. How does it make you feel to see this metrosexual Jewy cuck?
Just drop the metrosexual. Just Jewy cuck.
Express absolutely no concern about you beating me up.
I mean, you are a new male, though.
I am a what?
You're a new male beta cuck. You're a pansy sissy. I bet that you enjoy watching your wife with other men.
I mean, maybe just
Only
one-
if I can read the social security report while it's happening. I like
I
to
mean-
keep my mind occupied. Dude, are you actually this? No, I mean, I know. I honestly have a question, and it will appear as somewhat of an insult, but it's a genuine question because we do have people who call into this show as jokes. Are you actually this much of a total belligerent moron, or is this a joke and this is someone we know and it's a good character?
You think that that's a valid question to really ask?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's common knowledge.
Absolutely.
It's a common knowledge question.
Well, listen, I appreciate this.
I invite you to the live show next Saturday,
Listen,
though.
I appreciate this
Free
exchange,
ticket.
but my wife is meeting her lover in a half an hour, so I got to wrap things up.
It's a Dominican guy this week. Sam's very
All right,
excited.
make sure that you don't stray away from your cuck shed. Make sure you stay in there.
That I don't what?
What?
Don't stray away from the cuck shed. I
don't know what that phrase
The cuck shed. It's a
Do
it's
you
a concept
think? No.
thing.
Can I ask one more question? Do you think it might say something about? Because I the only reason that any of the people in this room know the phrase "cuck" or have thought about this or have ever had a conversation about watching their girlfriend or wife with some other man is because people like you are obsessed with that terminology and that idea.
Very fixated.
Does that maybe tell you something? Could you use your white mind to deduce
What
a
insecurities
pattern
might
there?
be there?
You know what?
Okay, but now the point is that you constantly joke about it to try to like deflect that you don't actually enjoy thinking about it.
I mean, I think
when people pretend,
I think you may have a point.
It's so funny, ha ha ha. But in reality, you actually you go home and type on the computer and look at that stuff. You know?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, well, first of all, buddy, I don't have to get it on the computer. I'm married. But listen, let me ask you.
I was talking to Michael though.
Okay, fair enough.
Now,
but listen, let me ask you a question. What is your? I mean, since I've been so open about my status. What is? Are you quite the ladies' man? I imagine that you are rather alpha. Am I right?
In the end, what's the end game here, Sam? What does it matter if I?
It's to embarrass you.
Wait a
That's
second.
the only reason.
Hold on.
What does it take away from blacks having low IQs?
Well, now wait a second. Now wait a second. We've talked about my being a cuck, and I think it's let's have some mutuality here in terms of this conversation. I'm just curious. You must be a very alpha ladies' man. Is that right?
I would definitely classify myself as an alpha male. Yeah.
Well, but wait a second. You're definitely. I mean, I think everybody can tell you're an alpha.
Definitely.
Definitely. But I'm curious. I'm just curious. Do the ladies appreciate that?
What do you think, Sam? I mean, you can ask your wife.
Well, no, wait a second. Now, are you suggesting that you're dating my wife?
No, what I'm suggesting is you said that you were a cuck, and you said that your wife enjoys being with other men. And since I'm an alpha, and I was assuming your wife is also with alphas, then you could ask her about it.
No. I'm asking if you find that women are attuned enough to sense your alphaness.
What's your personal sexual history?
And you're doing okay with the ladies. I'm just curious.
Definitely. Like when I go into a public place, if I saw you and your wife in a public place, and I walked up to your wife and I touched her ass, I don't know what you would do, Sam.
As a woman,
wait a second.
I'm just getting the vibes across the airwaves and just the things that you're saying. That
Kelly is swooning.
I
got to tell you,
lying through your teeth
I have
right
never
now.
seen Kelly this passionate about anything the whole time I've known her.
Wait a second. I want everybody just to be quiet. I want to show. I want a little respect here. I want you to just be honest. Are you technically speaking? Are you a virgin?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% positive.
You're positive. And so how long have you been sexually active? For how many years?
Why do you want to know that, Sam?
Well, come on. I mean, I've shared some pretty intimate things with you. I don't think I'm asking for too much.
I think you're asking for a little bit much to know about another male's sexual activities. I mean,
well, I'm not asking.
You just said that you slept with his wife.
I'm not asking for your activities. I'm asking give me just a sense of how many years you've been sexually active, because that gives me a sense of just like how savvy you are about these things.
And ever non-paid.
8 years.
8 years of sexual activity. So you really are on top of your game right now.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so now, do you perceive this as? Do you feel like you're making a conquest when you are out with a woman and you've been able to have sexual relations with her? I mean, tell us about that a little bit.
I mean, I think that this is kind of exciting you a little bit too much. Then you've been getting a little bit too stimulated. So maybe we can change the conversation to something else.
Well, I'll tell you what. Listen, we're out of time, but I definitely want you to call back because I think we're getting.
Please.
I think we're moving along. But Michael had one question.
No. This is not a question. This is a serious thing, and I just want to end on a slightly sincere note. Can you email the show? And I know Sam is weirdly, even though he's such a mega cuck, he gets awkward about this. But honestly, it would help him and his wife. You could just submit a headshot, maybe a brief bio. And we could see if you could get you in the rotation, because I'm sure that Sam's wife would be really excited to meet you.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not going to.
Although she usually prefers black guys.
Let me ask you this. Let me just put it this way.
That's another thing we should touch on is why you guys have such a sexual fetish for black men.
Well, fair enough.
Next call.
But I just got to think about this a little bit as to whether or not I'm willing to spring for a first-class seat or a coach seat. I mean,
wow, look at you really asserting yourself all of a sudden.
You know,
maybe a
bringing it
coach
back,
seat. Damn,
bringing
dude.
it back. I mean, we'll see.
Did you do a
But
push-up
listen,
last week?
But I do appreciate the call. Please call back. Thank you.
You're brilliant in all these ways that you don't understand.
All right, bye-bye.
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 8 years. Sad.
8 years. I mean,
Sad.
so we got a guy. It's all right. Well, maybe. I mean, maybe next time we'll find out how old he is. Maybe know when this guy started. I mean,
What if he's single?
Totally on top of the game.
Started when he was
All right,
10.
let's
Yeah,
do this.
Matt, he's
Final
single, okay? I
Final
gotta tell
IMs. Final IMs. Matt.
M.
Do it 1. Hello, Sam. I'm so glad to hear that people are starting to hear about the work of Susan B. Anthony and Frederick Douglass has done, but I wonder if people are aware of the tremendous work of Gandhi or Sacagawea.
No, my people.
Kelly.
L.
Listen to Klaatu. Fervent wish Comey finds serious dirt on Pence. Michael.
C.
Wait for it. PGA Pete, Matt, get to work on this Samillion before the show, Samarillion before the show eats up. But wait a second. I meant to go with Chicago Dawn. Did you guys hear Walter Block said that people should vote for Trump because he was the pro-peace, anti-war candidate? He's also freaked out libertarians getting into irrelevant topics like mixed race dating. Somebody please start a GoFundMe to make this guy a staff member. I will choose Young SJW. Kind of surreal that Matt brought up D12. Just drunk listened to Eminem's Everlast diss with my wife's last night. Maybe this means Rex Tillerson will finally make eye contact with me. Go ahead, Matt.
G.
G. Oh, well done. A G. G-man. G-man. Justice Thomas, next available Supreme Court vacancy. There's been talk that he may resign. Who knows? Kelly.
Z.
There is not a Z. Gosh. So many other...
There is one. All right. T.
It doesn't speed up things to do this, I've decided.
You're just getting
I've
that?
been saying this for weeks.
I've been saying this for weeks. I did a precise
Oh,
calculation.
no, the idea is not to speed it up, actually. It's the DX tool. It's just to make it fair. How do you pick the last ones? Speaking of old people, I unfortunately turned 55 Tuesday. Shofar, please. And happy Transgender Day of Visibility. Will you ever have a transgender guest on your show, like a journalist from Hartford or a professor from College of the Holy Cross or a lawyer from the ACLU? How about hiring a transgender intern? Thanks. Yes, it's basically just I come across pieces more than anything else. But we don't hire interns. That's the whole point of interns. But yes, I wouldn't not. Michael.
M.
Militant apathy. Ask John Connor if he's smart enough to stop the Terminator from nuclear war. Thesis zip. Jay Tingle. Really jarring to hear Matt ask, what is your personal sex history? We are through the looking glass. Jimmy Reefer Cake. Chat room folks want the Reefer Cake versus Brooks debate. Some even said they'd become members. Sam, give them the orders. And the final...
I'm definitely not going to do
that
it.
That might be good member content.
If people become members for it, well, I want a cut of that then.
Staten Island Mike. I don't remember the last Reefer Cake song. I didn't loathe. Michael Snide cackling helps release the tension, though. So thank you for your service. All right, folks. We'll see you on Monday.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the lie. lost my drive